Chapter 594. Cloud Sea Academy, Class 6-1. The girl with low self-esteem, Mu Wanqing, was cultivating. She didn't follow the usual energy circulation route. Instead, she followed the circulation route that Mo Shi had just mentioned. The first 2 cycles were normal. During the 3rd cycle, the energy passed through the dragon spine acupoint. During the 4th cycle, the energy passed through the dragon wing acupoint. When her energy had just passed through the dragon wing acupoint, she suddenly felt that all the meridians in her body seemed to have become much smoother. These meridians seemed to be much thicker than before. She hurriedly increased the energy output. 5 minutes later, the aura on her body suddenly rose. A huge wave of air spread out in all directions. It blew over the tables and chairs, causing the nearby students to sway. A moment later, the wave of air receded. Mu Wanqing opened her eyes. She was in disbelief and pleasant surprise. She looked at Mo Shi and said, "Instructor, I broke through and became a rank 4 evolved dragon." After saying that, she still couldn't believe it. Previously, she felt that it would be very difficult for her to break through again. Even if she could break through, it would probably take more than 100 years. Not only did she feel that way, but the instructors in the academy also felt the same way. That was why she had always felt inferior. How could Instructor Mo just say a few words and she broke through? Outside the door, the dean was stunned when he heard this. A few words of guidance and she broke through immediately? This was simply unheard of. Even the instructors of the first-rate schools in the Myriad Dragon Star region couldn't do this. When the dean saw this scene, his face revealed his usual shocked expression. Just 2 simple acupoints allowed a student to break through immediately? No one would believe it. When dragons generally needed dozens or hundreds of years to break through, it was simply a joke to teach someone to break through in 5 minutes. Incredible, incredible, the dean muttered to himself. This Instructor Mo must stay no matter what. He was definitely an expert. An expert who was much stronger than him. Of course, it was impossible for such an expert to stay in a small place like the Cloud Sea Academy. But even if he only stayed for a period of time, it would be a great fortune for the Cloud Sea Academy. Mo Shi's move instantly stunned all the students present. Mu Wanqing lowered her head and said softly, "Mentor Mo, thank you." Although his voice was very soft, it could be heard that he was grateful from the bottom of his heart. At this time, a tall and muscular student stood up and said in a coarse voice, "Let's go." "Mentor Mo, my name is Tuching Earth City. Please give me some advice. Ever since I entered the academy, I haven't broken through." When he said this, his voice was filled with excitement. Generally, it would take around 100 years for an evolved colossal dragon to break through. However, all those who were able to enter the academy were geniuses. After he entered Ocean of Clouds Academy, he'd been able to break through at least once during the 50+ years from the 1st grade to the 6th grade. However, ever since he entered the academy, not only had he not broken through even once, the energy in his body had not increased at all. It was as if the energy in his body had been locked by invisible shackles. In the end, he simply gave up on himself and gave up on cultivating. Anyway, he was just muddling along and getting a graduation certificate. Now that he saw that Instructor Mo could actually help Mu Wanqing break through, it was obvious that he also had great hope. The other students also looked at Mo Shi. "Mentor Mo, please give me some advice." "Mentor Mo, me too, me too. Mentor Mo, I also haven't broken through for 2 days. Please give me some advice again." "Get lost. You just broke through the day before yesterday. Why are you here? Mentor Mo can give you advice, but he can't give me advice." However, Mo Shi did not immediately agree to them. When it came to students, you couldn't always spoil them. You could do whatever they wanted? Then what would you do if they wanted to ride on your neck and poop in the future? Moreover, among these people, there was a guy with a spatial attribute and a guy with a metal attribute. At present, Mo Shi didn't know anything about the cultivation of space and metal attributes. Therefore, he waved his hand. "I'm just your homeroom teacher, not your class instructor. Each attribute has its own instructor. You'd better learn from them." Hearing Mo Shi's words, the other students were all disappointed. Mo Shi continued. "However, it's not like you don't have a chance to receive my guidance." When the students heard this, they all raised their heads. Mo Shi continued. Do you all know how to play war chess? When the students heard this, they were all a little confused, but they all nodded. In the 10,000 Dragon Star Zone, war chess was still relatively popular. These students more or less knew a little. Mo continued. Your temperaments are too weak. Practicing war chess can hone your temperament. I'll give you 10 days to learn war chess from me. When your impetuous hearts slowly calm down, I'll give you some guidance in your cultivation. When the students heard this, they felt that it was strange. What did cultivation have to do with war chess? However, when they heard that they had a chance to receive Mentor Mo's guidance, they were all very excited. After all, it was very likely that they would have a chance to break through immediately. In fact, cultivation and war chess had nothing to do with each other. The reason why Mo said that he would teach them 10 days of war chess had nothing to do with their temperament. According to the system's rules, no matter what he taught someone, as long as they reached 10 days, the system would recognize that person as Mo's disciple. Therefore, Mo would teach them 10 days of war chess first. When the time came, they would become Mo's disciples. At that time, Mo would have 20 disciples in one go. If he signed in again, he should be able to get some good stuff. It was said that he could also sign in for Metal Attribute and Space Attribute Dragon 9 transformations. This was Mo's real plan. Therefore, for the next few days, Mo really taught these students how to play war chess. Although the students' standards varied, no matter how good they were not as good as Mo's. One had to know that he had once won the runner-up position in a chess competition organized by the city on Earth. Wasn't it easy to teach these students? These days, the dean had been a little confused. Mentor Mo was able to control these students. This made him very satisfied. However, Mentor Mo didn't let these students learn cultivation and various theoretical knowledge from him. Instead, he wanted them to learn war chess from him. This was a little too ridiculous. Even if it was to hone their temperament, this was still really incomprehensible. One had to know that every parent in the 6th grade graduating class hoped that their children could learn more in the academy, so they were very strict with them. If these students went back and said that they were learning war chess from their mentor every day, what would those guys think? Their parents would probably come to the academy soon. Chapter 595. In fact, the dean's worries were not without reason. Some parents of students came to the academy, and it was not just one, but more than 10 parents. They came to the dean's office. Some were aggressive, and some were frowning. They insisted on asking the dean for an explanation. Dean, our child will graduate in 3 years. It was only 3 years. We all hope that he can learn more useful knowledge in the academy. But the new instructor only taught him how to play war chess? Isn't that too ridiculous? Dean, I don't know what kind of magic potion that instructor fed our child. He actually said that the instructor taught them war chess to hone their temperament. What's even more ridiculous is that the instructor can actually guide the students to break through immediately. Yes, since he can guide the students to break through immediately, why can't he guide our daughter? If he can't guide our child to break through, then please teach our child some useful things. Don't play so many tricks. The dean shook his head. Everyone, our Cloud Sea Academy is a famous academy in the entire Cloud Sea planet. We have absolute credibility. In terms of teaching methods, every instructor has their own set of methods. The reason why instructor Mo let the students learn war chess is to hone their temperament. As for the breakthrough you mentioned, it's not nonsense. It's true. I'll show you a video and you'll understand. As he spoke, the dean played the video of Mo guiding Mu Wanqing to break through in 5 minutes. Those people were all shocked when they saw it. This is actually true? But this is just too unbelievable. Even if I see it with my own eyes, I still can't believe it. Dean, I'm not doubting you, but this is too unbelievable. Could it be that this video is photoshopped? The parent who spoke regretted it as soon as he spoke. The instructors of Cloud Sea Academy had an extremely high social status on Cloud Sea Planet. Especially the dean of Cloud Sea Academy. It was said that he was a super-evolved dragon. He was a big shot. Would he be angry with him for speaking to him like that? The dean shook his head and said, I've asked Instructor Mo, I've also asked Teacher Mo. He also said that after 10 days, if the child's temperament has been tempered to a certain level, he will guide that student. As for whether or not the other child would be able to break through, I was also looking forward to it. If any of you still have any doubts, you can come to me when the time comes. We'll know when we have a look." When the parents heard this, they looked at each other. Although they still found it hard to believe, they couldn't say anything else since the dean had already said so. In the end, they all nodded in agreement. Then let's wait and see if they can make a breakthrough in 10 days. Today was Mo Shi's 10th day as an instructor. These 20 students were officially recognized by the system as Mo Shi's disciples. That night, Mo Shi said in his mind, "System, accepting 20 disciples can be considered a special event. Sign in for a special event." The system's voice sounded frowny face. Sign in successful. Sign in event. 20 new disciples. Sign in reward. Void Dragon 9 transformation skill and technique. Golden Dragon 9 transformation skill and technique. Mo Shi was overjoyed. His guess was right. The system had indeed given him these 2 rewards. He immediately entered the space and learned the skills and techniques of the Void Dragon 9 transformations and the Golden Dragon 9 transformations. He had already mastered all the theoretical knowledge of the spatial and metal attributes. In this way, Mo Shi had completely mastered all the theoretical knowledge of the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. At the same time, he had also mastered all the theoretical knowledge of the 3 special attributes: thunder, poison, and space. He had mastered all the theoretical knowledge of 8 attributes. This was definitely an unprecedented existence in the history of the entire Myriad Dragon Star Zone. In the history of the entire Flaming Origin continent, the one who had mastered the most was a giant dragon known as the King of Chaos. That was a peerless genius. He was born with 2 types of elemental energy. Later, his dragon bloodline mutated twice, allowing him to possess 4 types of elemental energy. Finally, he had a fortuitous encounter and possessed all the 5 elemental energies. Because of this, he spent a lot of effort to study all the theoretical knowledge of the 5 elements. He became a master of the theoretical knowledge of the 5 elements. After him, no other giant dragon had mastered more than 4 types of elemental theoretical knowledge. After all, the dragon race had been passed down for millions of years. The theoretical knowledge of each attribute had accumulated to an unimaginable level. It was extremely time-consuming to completely master a single attribute. If you spent all your time on theoretical knowledge, would you still be able to cultivate? But now, Mo Shi had mastered the theoretical knowledge of 8 attributes. Moreover, this knowledge was richer and more mature than any theoretical knowledge in the world. This was something that these giant dragons could not even imagine. The next day, before Mo Shi arrived at the academy, more than 10 parents had already gathered in the dean's office. Now that 10 days had passed, they wanted to see what kind of ability this teacher who only taught their children war chess all day had. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Mo Shi entered the academy on time. He let out a long yawn. Last night, he played very late with Happy again. According to his habit, he would sleep until 11 or 12 o'clock before waking up. But after all, he was a teacher now and had to be a role model. Therefore, he got up early and did not eat breakfast. Only then did he enter the classroom on time. As he looked at the podium, he shook his head secretly. It seemed that he had to control himself when he played in the future. In the dean's office, all the parents' gazes fell on Mo Shi. In class 6-1, all the students' gazes also fell on Mo Shi. Mo Shi knew what they were waiting for. He nodded and said, "In the past 10 days, I've been very satisfied with your performance in war chess. So I've decided that all of you can receive my guidance today." "Wow, that's great. Really?" The students immediately burst into an uproar. Mo Shi glanced at the students, and the boiling students quickly suppressed their excitement. They were afraid that if they did not perform well, the teacher would take back what he had just said. Mo Shi pointed at a thin boy and said, "Golden Sword, try to cultivate for me to see." Golden Sword nodded. His eyes were full of sharpness. He was already a 5th-level evolved giant dragon, the one with the highest level in this class. After he finished cultivating, Mo Shi shook his head and said, "Don't worry. When you run the 7th cycle, after the energy flows through the Silong acupoint, don't go through the Earth Dragon acupoint. Instead, go through the Dragon Spine acupoint first, and then go through the Sky Dragon acupoint. Nothing else changes." In the dean's office, Golden Sword's father suddenly became anxious. Chapter 596. Jin Jian's father panicked when he heard Mo Shi's instructions. Dean, stop him. You should know that our golden dragon's energy is very sharp, and the heavenly dragon's cave is very fragile. If we go through the heavenly dragon's cave, we might break it. If that happens, my son will be crippled. None of our metal-type dragons have ever gone through the heavenly dragon's cave. The other parents' expressions changed when they heard that. Stop him. Dean, does he know how to teach? It's too late. Seeing that the parents were about to explode, the dean released Long Wei from his body. He was a super-evolved giant dragon. His Long Wei was not something these parents could bear. A chill rose from the bottom of these parents' hearts. They instantly quieted down. Actually, as the head of the school, the dean should not have used Long Wei on the parents. However, if he did not use Long Wei now, these parents were about to explode. In the 6th grade classroom, when Jin Jian heard Mo Shi's words, he was still a little confused. However, when he thought about how Mu Wanqing was in the same situation when she broke through, he immediately felt confident. According to Mo Shi, after the 7th cycle of energy, they should not go through the heavenly dragon's cave. Instead, they should go through the dragon's spine cave first, and then the heavenly dragon's cave. The next moment, Jin Jian's expression changed drastically, and his body trembled violently. Mo Shi's right index finger pressed directly on the heavenly dragon's cave on top of his head. After a while, large beads of sweat dripped down from Jin Jian's head. Mo Shi was relieved. Jin Jian's breakthrough had failed. Not only did it fail, but when the energy was in the heavenly dragon's cave, the heavenly dragon's cave was almost crippled by the sharp metal-type energy. When the students saw this scene, they were all shocked. In the dean's office, the dean frowned. He wanted these parents to watch Teacher Mo's performance, but it turned out to be a slap in the face. How the hell was he going to explain this? He glanced at the parents. Sure enough, their expressions all changed. Although they were suppressed by their Long Wei and did not dare to say anything, they were furious. However, Mo Shi soon gave an explanation. He shook his head and said, Jin Jian, why did you hesitate when you were attacking the heavenly dragon cave? Jin Jian's eyes were no longer as sharp as before. He said, I've never been to the dragon spine cave before, especially the heavenly dragon cave. Since I was young, all the seniors have told me that the sword qi of the metal element should never go through the heavenly dragon cave. Otherwise, at the very least, his acupoints would be crippled. At the very least, all the meridians in his body would be broken, and he would never be able to recover. So I hesitated. Mo Shi shook his head. It's because you hesitated that you missed the best time. You all think that the dragon spine acupoint is a useless acupoint and is completely useless in cultivation. Actually, let me tell you, the Longji acupoint is the most useful of all the acupoints. Its function was to stimulate other acupoints. When the energy passes through the Longji acupoint at a specific time, it can stimulate different acupoints. After 7 cycles, you'll have to go through the Longji acupoint to stimulate the Tianlong acupoint. After the heavenly dragon acupoint was stimulated, its flexibility and strength were greatly enhanced. It was completely capable of withstanding the sharp metal energy. But this time was very short. Only an instant. You hesitated just now and missed the best opportunity. As the saying goes, if you're sincere, it'll work. Since you're not sincere, you can retreat. Hearing this, Jin Jian immediately said in fear, Mentor, I won't hesitate anymore. I'll definitely break through this time. Mo Shi waved his hand and said to everyone, Mu Wanqing, if you're sincere, break through immediately. Jin Jian, if you're not sincere, you won't be able to break through. Instead, you'll almost go crazy. You'll have to think about how to choose. The students looked at each other. Finally, their gazes fell on Mu Wanqing. Mu Wanqing felt everyone's gaze and her cheeks immediately turned red. Her head could be buried under the table. Finally, a student with the fire element stepped forward. Mentor, let me do it. Mo Shi nodded. Begin. That student practiced it once. Mo Shi gave a few simple instructions. The student followed Mo Shi's instructions and practiced again. 5 minutes later, a stream of air suddenly came out of his body and rushed in all directions. Fortunately, Mo Shi was prepared. He condensed an energy shield and covered him, shielding him from the shockwave when he broke through. All the students were pleasantly surprised when they saw this. He really broke through. As long as we follow the mentor's instructions and don't hesitate, we'll definitely break through. Originally, we had to cultivate for decades or even hundreds of years, but with the mentor's guidance, we broke through in 5 minutes. It's too scary. In the dean's office, the dean was relieved when he saw Mo Shi guiding the students to break through immediately again. He looked at the parents again and saw that their eyes were also full of shock. The dean took back Long Wei and said to the parents, "I'm sorry. I had to do that just now." However, the parents didn't take the fact that the dean used Long Wei to suppress them. Because at this time, they were all shocked by what they saw just now. "Dean, this is true." With some guidance, she broke through immediately in 5 minutes. "My son didn't lie to me." "Dean, quickly let him guide my daughter. My daughter hasn't broken through for 30 years. Only Jian's father hated that he couldn't go up and give his son 2 tight slaps when he saw this. Of all people to suspect, he had to suspect Mentor Mo. Now, Mentor Mo won't let you break through. What should you do? Just tell me what you should do. Next, Mo Shi guided the students one by one. Those students broke through immediately one after another. In the end, only 2 people were left. One was Jian, the other was Tuqing. Jian's father was so anxious that his head was full of sweat. "Dean, please talk to Mentor Mo. I'll do whatever you want. As long as he agrees to let my son break through, I'll pay any price." The dean chuckled and said, "Don't worry, Mentor Su is just teaching Jian a lesson. In fact, he still values your son very much. Otherwise, why would he ask your son to break through first?" Jian's father was slightly relieved when he heard this. In fact, the reason why Mo Shi asked Jian to break through first was that he had plundered the memories of all the students. He knew clearly what these students were thinking. Jian was the one who doubted him the most among all the students. He originally planned to ask Jian to come out and set a negative example to make an example out of him. He didn't expect Jian to come out by himself and hit the muzzle of the gun. At this time, Mo Shi looked at Tuqing. Then he looked at Jian. He said, "Jian, I'll give you 3 days to reflect." "Yes." Chapter 597. This time, Golden Sword did not dare to hesitate anymore. He did not dare to have any doubts about Mo Shi's orders. When he saw the other students breaking through under the guidance of the teachers, he had already made up his mind. From now on, he would not have the slightest doubt about any of the teachers' words. When the teachers, including the dean, saw that Mo Shi had grasped almost all the attributes' knowledge, they could not help but open their eyes wide. How many attributes has Teacher Mo grasped? It's simply unbelievable. There are 20 students in this class, and they all know the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth attributes. Just now there was also an ice and space attributes. It's already very dangerous to know all the 5 elements, but he even grasped the ice and space attributes, these rare attributes' knowledge. This is simply unimaginable. The dean was also dumbfounded. These parents only knew that Mo Shi had grasped 7 attributes. But the dean knew that other than these attributes, Mo Shi had also grasped the lightning attribute knowledge. At this moment, he no longer doubted that Mo Shi had grasped almost all the attributes' theoretical knowledge. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, ice, lightning, wind, poison, time, and space. One person grasped so many attributes' knowledge. How did this guy learn? Could it be that he did not cultivate? Did he use all his time to study theoretical knowledge? But before, he only used Long Wei to suppress so many students. This means that he is very likely a super-evolved giant dragon. In other words, the amount of time he had to cultivate was definitely not little, even more than an ordinary giant dragon. Then how did he grasp all this knowledge? Could it be that he is a time attribute giant dragon? But the time attribute is extremely rare. Currently, in the entire 10,000 dragon star field, there are less than 10 people with the time attribute. Every time attribute giant dragon would be roped in by those big forces. How could he come to the small Cloud Sea planet and teach in the Cloud Sea Academy? It seems that I have to find Teacher Mo to understand all of this. At this moment, Mo Shi continued to speak to Golden Sword. 3 days later, I will see your performance. Yes. Golden Sword said again. Then, Mo Shi looked at the tall and mighty Tuqing. This guy is almost 2 sizes bigger than me. According to Mo Shi's understanding, before Tuqing entered the academy, he was an absolute genius there. However, ever since it had evolved into a rank 1 colossal dragon and entered the Ocean of Clouds Academy, it hadn't advanced another rank. And because he was too tall, he was at least 2 meters tall. His movements seemed to be somewhat inconvenient. Because of these 2 reasons, many people rolled their eyes and mocked him. At the beginning, Tuqing Earth City also felt inferior for a while. But later on, he gradually became thick-skinned. He began to give up on himself and went all out. Thus, he did not cultivate much. He could be said to be the most useless student in the entire academy. He looked tall and strong, but in fact, any random student in the academy would be able to beat him to a pulp. At this time, Tuqing Earth City's eyes, which have not appeared in brilliance for decades, are full of eager eyes. Instructor Mo, it's my turn. It's my turn. Mo Shi nodded and turned to the rest of the students. Today's class has been going on for half a day. You should all rest. As for Tuqing Earth City, come with me. As he spoke, his mind flickered. The 2 of them instantly disappeared from the classroom. The surrounding students thought that they had teleported nearby. However, through exploration, they found that the instructor and Tuqing Earth City were not nearby, not even in the academy. Tuqing Earth City's father saw this scene and asked the dean in surprise, "Dean, this?" The dean smiled and shook his head. "Don't worry, Instructor Mo just took Tuqing Earth City to a place." As soon as the voice fell, Mo Shi and Tuqing Earth City reappeared in the place where they had just disappeared. At this time, Tuqing Earth City did not have the previous decadence and self-abandonment look. Instead, he had a confident smile on his face. He disappeared for less than 3 seconds. How could he suddenly change into another person? Tuqing Earth City's father's eyes were wide open. He even wondered if Instructor Mo had stuffed other people's souls into his son's body. Tuqing Earth City, get ready today. From tomorrow onwards, you will practice according to my method. Yes. Tuqing Earth City's face was full of smiles and gratitude. All the students in the classroom and the parents in the dean's office were dumbfounded. Where did they go in the last 3 seconds? What did Instructor Mo say to Tuqing Earth City? In fact, within 3 seconds, Mo Shi took Tuqing Earth City to the Earth space. The scene replayed. In the Earth space, Mo Shi and Tuqing Earth City suddenly appeared. Tuqing Earth City looked at the completely unfamiliar planet and asked, "Instructor, where is this?" Mo Shi said, "This is a planet." Tuqing Earth City asked, "Instructor, why did you bring me here?" Mo Shi, "You don't have to cultivate. Even if you cultivate until you die, you won't be able to advance another level." Tuqing Earth City. "Instructor, I know my talent is poor, but it shouldn't be so bad, right?" Mo Shi, "Your talent is not bad. Being able to enter the Cloud Sea Academy shows that your talent is much better than the average giant dragon." Then, why have all my classmates advanced in the past few decades, but I'm still in the same place? Not to mention that I didn't advance, my energy didn't even increase by a bit. My dad and those instructors have thought of many ways, but it didn't work. Mo Shi said, "Because you have a planetary body." After a planetary body evolves to a level 1 dragon, the realm will no longer advance. Tuqing Earth City's eyes widened. A planetary body? You mean a terrifying existence that can eventually turn the body into an entire planet? Isn't that just a legend? Mo Shi, many legends are true. From the first time he saw Tuqing Earth City, the eye of the demon dragon let him know that this guy was an incredible planetary body. Tuqing Earth City then asked, "But according to legend, a planetary body depends on perception to continue to grow stronger. And in the millions of years of the giant dragon's history, there have been more than 10,000 planetary bodies, but only 1 giant dragon has achieved a true planetary body. The success rate is so low that it makes the dragon's hair stand on end." Mo Shi nodded. That's because they didn't realize anything at the end of their lives. Tuqing Earth City's expression dimmed. "Instructor, do you think someone as stupid as me will realize it before the end of their lives?" Mo Shi said, "With my method, even an idiot will be able to comprehend it in the end." Tuqing Earth City heard this and immediately became excited. "Really? The next moment, Mo Shi's mind moved. Tuching Earth City's entire body began to expand rapidly. Slowly, it turned into a boulder, a mountain range, until it became an entire planet. At this time, Tuching Earth City was the planet, and the planet was Tuching Earth City. Mo Shi said to the huge planet that had just appeared above Earth, "Now that you're a planet, feel it carefully." After saying that, he sped up the time again. In just a short moment, it was as if tens of billions of years had passed. Tens of billions of years was enough for a planet to slowly take shape from nothing. What Mo Shi wanted was for Tuching Earth City to slowly feel this process. Chapter 598. From an outsider's perspective, Mo Shi and Tuching only disappeared for 3 seconds. But in reality, after Mo Shi brought him to Earth, he sped up the passage of time in Earth space. 3 seconds is equivalent to 10 billion years. Some say this is too exaggerated? Come on, Mo Shi is the god here. Here. He is the omniscient and omnipotent creator. There is nothing he can't do. In this accelerated time of 10 billion years, Tuching has been feeling the changes in his body. He seems to have understood something. Then, Mo Shi stuffed Tuching into Earth's core with another thought. Letting him stay inside for 10 billion years, letting him keep feeling. After 10 billion years, Tuching's eyes lit up as soon as he came out. "Mentor, I've realized something." Mo Shi said, "Using my method, even a fool can realize it, am I right?" Tuching nodded excitedly. Then, his entire body began to change rapidly. He directly revealed his dragon body. The 1,000-meter-long dragon body began to change. The color of the scales on it was constantly changing. It slowly turned into the color of a stone. His entire body was like a boulder that hasn't moved for thousands of years. The spikes on his back were also constantly changing. They looked like trees that had grown out of a boulder thousands of years ago. Mo Shi tried to attack a few times, then nodded and said, not bad. The current you can withstand the attacks of a 7th order evolved dragon at most. When you turn into a stone form, dragons below the 7th order can't do anything to you." Including 7th order. Tuching was suddenly overjoyed. Previously, he was only a rank 1 evolved giant dragon. Dragons below the 1st order could bully him. He didn't expect that dragons below the 7th order couldn't do anything to him. This change was so great that it was shocking. Mo Shi continued, "From now on, I will take you to experience the growth of a planet every day. I believe that it won't be long before your strength will far surpass others," Tuching hurriedly said. "Thank you, Mentor." Finally, he asked another question. "Mentor, where is this place?" "An illusion I created," Mo Shi said. Tuching Earth City was very surprised. Could a teacher create such a realistic illusion? It was said that some giant dragons could create illusions, but those illusions always had some flaws and weren't too realistic. Only those extremely powerful super-evolved dragons could create illusions that could not be seen through. Could it be that Tutor had already become a super-evolved dragon? Thinking of this, he looked at his mentor in surprise. However, Mo Shi had already brought him back to the classroom with a single thought. Then he said to Tuching Earth City, "It's best not to mention this to anyone." Tuching Earth City also replied, "Don't worry, teacher. I'm not stupid enough to ruin my future with my own hands." He knew that only Mo Shi could bring him into that illusory realm. In that illusion, Mo Shi could speed up the passage of time, allowing him to feel the growth of a planet in a very short period of time. If he told the others and angered the tutor, he would be the only one who would suffer. In the dean's office, Tuching Earth City's father saw that everyone else had broken through. Only his son had not broken through. He couldn't help but feel anxious. But the expression on his son's face suddenly changed. He was no longer as decadent as before, but full of confidence and gratitude to Mo Shi. He knew that something must have happened in between. So after school, he went to find his son. On the way home with his son, he asked, "You didn't break through?" Tuching Earth City shook his head. "No breakthrough in level. But under the guidance of my mentor, my strength has improved by leaps and bounds." Father Tuching Earth frowned slightly. "Everyone else has broken through, only you haven't. Even if your strength has improved by leaps and bounds, how strong can it be?" Tuching Earth City said, "So strong that I can use my body to withstand the attack of any giant dragon below the 7th order." Tuching Earth City's father suddenly stopped in his tracks. He turned to look at his son. He wanted to see if his son was exaggerating. However, from his son's eyes and face, he could not see any evasiveness. In other words, his son was telling the truth. He couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. That mentor MO was so amazing. Just 3 seconds of guidance, and his son's strength suddenly became strong enough to withstand the attack of a 7th-order evolved giant dragon with his body? This was more awesome than taking drugs. Tell me, what the hell is going on? Tuching Earth City shook his head. The mentor said, let me not talk to others. No. Since when did your father become an outsider? Father Tuching Earth was so anxious that he directly burst out swearing. Tuching Earth City was still very firm. If I tell others casually and annoy the mentor, he will never teach me again. When Tuching Earth City said this, Father Tuching Earth could only shake his head helplessly. Okay, I won't ask. But then again, what's the matter with the planetary body? Tuching Earth City said, it's talking about my physique. I have a planetary body, so it's useless to cultivate again. But with the mentor's method, I can even turn my body into a planet in the future. My defense is also at the planetary level. Tuching Earth City's father wondered, planetary body? It said that it's a genius body that may only appear once in 100 years. In fact, the success rate is very low. At most, only 1 in 10,000 planetary bodies can eventually achieve a planetary body. So this planetary body is also called a waste body. Tuching Earth City's eyes were full of confidence. Dad, you can rest assured. With a mentor, I have absolute confidence that before graduation, I can reach the level where I can use my body to withstand the attack of a 10th-order evolved dragon. Hiss. Father Tuching Earth took a breath of cold air. If that's the case, his son is equivalent to being invincible below the 10th-order evolved dragon. Then the future of his Tuching Earth family is promising. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but secretly look forward to it. He said, your mentor is a really capable person. You have to have a good attitude in front of him in the future. Don't be like before. You always cause me trouble for no reason. Don't worry, Dad. With such a mentor around, if I don't seize the time and make good use of the time before graduation, then I'm a fool. Father Tuching Earth saw that his son finally knew how to make progress, and his eyes couldn't help but be slightly hot. After his son found that he had not broken through in the past 3 years, he gradually became decadent. He had been decadent until now. He could only comfort himself that his son came to the college to get a graduation certificate. He never expected that this new mentor would bring such a huge change to his son. Chapter 599. Mo Sure used one class to conquer all the students. Apart from Earth City and Golden Sword, all the students advanced by 1 level. However, it was far from enough to advance by 1 level. Their combat strength did not increase significantly. So Mo Sure applied to the school to take these students out for training. Every homeroom teacher and mentor had a chance to take the students out for training every semester. The previous homeroom teacher, Jean Pontu, had not taken the students out for training this semester. On Earth, when the teachers took the students out, they were all trembling with fear. Some were afraid of danger, and some were afraid of accidents. If something happened, they would not be able to explain it to their parents. However, in the 10,000 Dragon Star Zone, the giant dragons' physiques were extremely strong. As long as they were not killed on the spot, even if they were seriously injured, they could usually recover in a short time. Therefore, the teachers were free to bring the students out for training. Before leaving, the dean designated an area for Mo Sure. This is the Misty Mountains. You can train in the southern area of the mountains. The star beasts here are around 100 to 150 years old. The northern part of the Misty Mountains is shrouded in thick fog all year round. Moreover, the mountains are high and the forests are dense. It has become the hiding place of many dragon bandits. It is said that there are as many as 600 to 700 dragon bandits in the Misty Mountains. Therefore you must not go there. The dean knew that Mo Sure was very likely a super-evolved giant dragon, and was not afraid of these dragon bandits at all. However, he still had to give the necessary instructions. Hearing the dean's words, Mo Sure could not help but be secretly happy. If you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known. Since you said so, I naturally have to go. The next morning, Mo Sure took the students and set off for the Misty Mountains. When the students heard that they were going out for training, they were all very excited. They looked forward to going out for training every semester. However, when they reached the forest in the southern part of the Misty Mountains, Mo quickly made them realize the reality. All of them could not even deal with a small 100-year star beast cub. This was simply King useless. What have you been doing for the past 50 years? Mo was slightly angry. The students looked ashamed. Instructor, when Instructor Jean brought us out for training, we always worked together to kill star beast cubs. We have never fought a star beast cub alone before. Mo couldn't help but chuckle. You're about to graduate. After graduation, unless you join the army, you won't have many opportunities to gather together. Could it be that at that time, when you saw the star beast cubs, you could only run away? You guys think that it's easy for you to find a job after graduating from a famous school. But you never know which comes first, tomorrow or the accident. What if you encounter a baby star beast when you're alone? Even if you go to the army, it will be 1,000 times crueler than here. People like you won't even be able to clean the toilet bowl. After being scolded by Mo, the students all lowered their heads, not daring to say a word. Even the naughtiest students in the class were stunned by Mo's scolding. Next, Mo repeated the training he did for Lei Ren. These students first fought a 100-year-old star beast cub alone. Mo not only taught them how to exert force, but also how to condense energy in any part of their body. After a short 3 days, these students were already able to deal with 100-year-old star beast cubs. After 10 years, they could deal with 110-year-old star beasts. Then, it was 120-year-old star beasts, 130-year-old star beasts. In the end, no matter their level, almost every student could deal with a star beast cub that was one level higher than them. After that, Mo imparted the various 9 dragon transformations that he had learned before to them. Of course, Mo only imparted the first and second transformations to them. Just to master the first and second transformations would take a few months. As for the third transformation and beyond, it was purely up to luck. After spending 1.5 months to master the first 2 transformations of these dragons, every student could rely on these 2 transformations to fight against star beasts that were at least 5 levels above them. Some were even able to fight star beasts that were at least 160, 70, 80, and even 80 to 90 years old. If converted to the level of giant dragons, they could basically deal with evolved giant dragons that were at least 6 levels higher than them. And among these students, the one who performed the most outstanding was Jianghu. Because he was not sincere before, Mo told him to break through in 3 days. From then on, he did not hesitate to follow Mo's orders. After 3 days, Mo told him to start breaking through. As a result, this guy broke through by 2 levels. He jumped from level 4 to level 6 evolved giant dragon. This made the students in the class so shocked that their jaws almost fell to the ground. Every level of a giant dragon's breakthrough was very difficult. At their level, it was considered fast to break through 1 level in 100 years. The mentor took them to break through in 5 minutes, which was enough to shock everyone. As a result, Jianghu, this guy, actually broke through 2 levels in 10 minutes. It was really too shocking. Now, Jianghu was one of the 2 students with the highest level in the entire class. And his metal attribute energy was extremely sharp. When he learned to attach metal attribute energy to every part of his body, it was as if every part of his body was equipped with extremely sharp blades. Every move could cut through gold and stone. The only person in the class who did not break through was Tuching Earth City. When the mentor taught everyone in the class all kinds of 9 dragon transformations, the only person who did not teach was Tuching Earth City. But Tuching Earth City did not seem to be disappointed. On the contrary, he was always happy. When the students saw this, they all secretly pitied Tuching Earth City. He had been left far behind by the other students and could not make the slightest progress. On the surface, he looked indifferent, but in fact, his heart must be very uncomfortable. How could they know that the current Tuching Earth City, after a month and a half in Mo space on Earth, had also improved at a rapid pace? Before, he could only turn into a boulder. But now, Tuching Earth City could directly turn into a mountain that was 10,000 meters tall. What was the use of this mountain? It fell directly from the sky and hit you. Would you be afraid? As for the defense, there was nothing to say. This mountain was not like an ordinary mountain that could be easily knocked down by evolved giant dragons. This mountain was extremely tough. It would be extremely difficult to knock down this mountain if one was not a super evolved dragon. In fact, in terms of strength, Tuching Earth City was already the strongest among all the students. These students were just fooling around. Under Tuching Earth City's attack, destroying a city would not be a problem. However, Mo Sure did not let Tuching Earth City take action for the time being. If he took action, the others would not have to gain experience. If a mountain came down, those star beast cubs would all be crushed into meat paste, and they would gain experience. Chapter 600. After 2 months of training, the students had mastered all kinds of 9 dragon transformations. Now, almost every student could use all kinds of 9 dragon transformations to defeat opponents that were at least 4 ranks higher. Some of the stronger and sharper attributes, such as Golden Sword, could already be invincible against those below the super-evolved giant dragon. At this time, there were only 5 days left until the graduation exam. The dean had already contacted Mo Sure and asked him to bring the students back to the academy as soon as possible. Mo Sure agreed. Then he said to the students, "Since you're almost done with your training, I'll bring you to do something big today." The students didn't know what Mo Sure meant, but they were all very excited. In the past 2 months, each of them could kill star beast cubs that were above their ranks. He had even hunted and killed a 200-year-old star beast cub. In their opinion, this was already quite an achievement. They didn't expect that in the eyes of their teacher, this was nothing. They were going to do something big next. Did he want them to kill star beast cubs that were more than 200 years old? What a joke. That was an existence equivalent to a super-evolved giant dragon. If they went up, wouldn't they be looking for trouble? But it didn't matter, with their teacher beside them, what did they not dare to do? Although until now, they hadn't seen their teacher in action. But they knew that their teacher's strength was definitely that of a super-evolved giant dragon. After all, their teacher had taught them for 2 months, and each of them could defeat enemies that were 4 or 5 ranks higher. Golden Sword was invincible against those below the super-evolved giant dragon. If someone said that their teacher's strength had not reached that of a super-evolved giant dragon, they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. When they thought that their teacher was actually a super-evolved giant dragon, these students were very proud. One had to know that in the entire Cloud Sea Star, there were probably only about 10,000 people who had reached the super-evolved giant dragon level. If they knew that their teacher was not only a super-evolved giant dragon, but also the only level 5 super-evolved giant dragon on the entire planet, who knew how they would feel? Soon, Mo Sure led the 20 students through the entire southern part of the Misty Mountains. They arrived at the ridge of the mountain. Looking from the ridge to both sides, one could see 2 completely different styles. The southern part of the mountain range was full of green vegetation and lush trees. A wide river, like a silver jade belt under the sun, floated into the distance. The northern part was completely shrouded in fog. It was impossible to see what was inside. Even if these students used their evolved dragon senses, they couldn't find out what was going on inside. Only Mo Sure's Draconic will could penetrate the mist and see what was inside. One of the students asked. "Instructor, it is said that there are many dragon bandits' lairs in the fog north of the Fog Mountains. Are we still going?" The rest of the students also looked at Mo Sure. The dragon bandits were all outlaws. They didn't care about morals or laws. They only cared about killing dragons to steal their goods and steal their treasures. Mo Sure smiled. "The reason I brought you here today is to suppress the bandits." All the students were stunned. "Instructor, are you sure you're not mistaken? The government has been suppressing it for so many years, but to no avail. Now that you've brought 20 students, you want to suppress the bandits? Wasn't this a little too exaggerated?" Mo Sure laughed. "What? You don't dare?" After all, these students were still young and full of vigor. How could they withstand such provocation? Why not? Every one of us can challenge someone 5 levels above us. Golden Sword is invincible below super-evolved dragons. What do we have to be afraid of? Actually, there was an important reason that they didn't mention. With a super-evolved dragon teacher by their side, what were they afraid of? However, just as they thought of this, Mo Sure shattered their fantasy. "Each of you is stronger than those dragon bandits individually. So I won't take part in suppressing the bandits this time. At most, I'll give you some ideas and guide you from the side. As for whether you'll take care of the dragon bandits or the dragon bandits will take you in, it will depend on your skills." The students were all a little nervous, but also a little excited. They had killed many baby star beasts, but they hadn't killed a dragon yet. Wuxia said, "Follow closely." As he spoke, he flew forward. The group of students behind him hurriedly followed behind. They could only see about 10 meters from here. Even with their perception, they could only see about 100 meters. If they were not careful, they might lose him. Half an hour later, they arrived at the bottom of a cliff. There was a cave under the cliff. According to Wuxia's detection, there were about 40 dragon bandits inside. But he didn't intend to tell the students the exact number. Otherwise, without a rank 10 Long Yen by their side in the future, would they stop suppressing bandits? Wuxia said, "The dragon bandits are all valiant and ruthless. They don't follow any rules. We haven't found out how many dragon bandits there are in the cave. You can use 3 to 5 people to lure out some of them. After killing them, immediately retreat. Pay attention to the 2 survivors. Interrogate them separately and see how many dragon bandits there are. If they say the number is about the same, it's true. If the number is wrong, it must be a lie. After killing them, there will definitely be more dragon bandits coming out to investigate. When the time comes, we'll act according to the situation." "Yes." The students spoke one after another. At this moment, the class monitor, Shui Bolin, began to give orders. "Mu Wanqing, Kong Ming, Golden Sword, you 3 go to the entrance of the cave and challenge them. The rest of you lie in ambush. Tuqing, you're the weakest. Hide in the distance. When the battle is about to start, cast an earth element energy shield on each of us. During the battle, see if anyone's shield is broken and immediately mend it. At the same time, pay attention to your own safety. During the battle, no one has time to protect you." The students all agreed. Tuqing looked at Wuxia. Wuxia transmitted his voice to him. "Do as she says first." Tuqing nodded. Then, he went to find a place to hide more than 50 meters behind. In fact, 50 meters was not a distance at all for a giant dragon. But there was no other way. There was fog everywhere. They had to rely on their perception to distinguish more than 50 meters. If it was any further, even their perception could not see it. As for Wuxia, he could not only see it with his dragon consciousness. And his demon dragons, I could also easily see everything in this fog. So it could be said that everything was under his control. At this moment, the rest of the students were hiding more than 20 meters away. Kong Ming, Golden Sword, and Mu Wanqing went to challenge them. Mu Wanqing was a little timid. She walked at the back. Golden Sword had a metallic sword aura and was very sharp. He took the lead and came to a place only 10 meters away from the stone cave door. He shouted, "The dragon bandits inside, listen up. Come out immediately and die." A moment later, he saw a dragon bandit inside poking his head out. Chapter 601. The dragon bandit poked his head out and looked around. When he saw Jianghu and the other 2, he was stunned. F***CK. Is it so exaggerated to send students to suppress bandits now? The dragon bandit had been in society for many years and was extremely experienced. Naturally, he could tell at a glance that Jianghu and the other 2 were students. Kong Ming snorted coldly. "So what if you're students? Students will still destroy you." Hearing this, the dragon bandit laughed. "Little brother, you're looking down on us dragon bandits too much. If just a few students can suppress bandits, then we might as well quit our jobs." Kong Ming said, "Cut the crap. Call out all your dragon bandits and let you see if our students can suppress bandits." The dragon bandit probed. Although there was an ambush nearby, there were only a dozen students. He was immediately amused. Which idiot instructor brought the students to train and actually let the students suppress bandits? Can any B-grade instructor do the job now? Then he looked at Wuxia, who was not far away. "You should be the instructor, right? Did you pull your brain out when you came out for training?" Wuxia could not be bothered with him at all. Whoosh! A ray of metal attribute energy flashed. The dragon bandit was directly cut in half from head to toe. The eyes of the 2 halves of his corpse were filled with disbelief. Instant kill? Were the students now so terrifying? But it didn't matter. He was still completely dead. After those brothers in the cave rushed out and destroyed these guys, there was still hope for him to be saved. However, just as this thought flashed through his mind, whoosh 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 whoosh, the two halves of the dragon bandit's corpse were all cut into pieces. At this moment, Mu Wanqing saw this and suddenly felt her stomach churn. She couldn't help but squat down and vomit. In the past, she killed star beast cubs. After all, they were different species, so killing them didn't seem to make her feel much. But when she saw the corpse of the dragon bandit, who was also a giant dragon, she suddenly felt serious psychological and physical discomfort. Kong Ming's face was also slightly pale. He turned to look at Jin Jian. This guy was too sharp. Wasn't he disgusted at all? Of course, Jin Jian was disgusted. But at this moment, he focused all his attention on the cave entrance, so the feeling of disgust was not that strong. Although it was his first time killing a giant dragon, he wanted to prove to his mentor that he was not inferior to any giant dragon. When the dragon bandits hiding in the cave saw this, their hearts trembled. Brothers, these students are not to be trifled with. Not to be trifled with. There are only 20 of them. Including their teachers, there are only 21 of them. There are 60 of us. Can't we beat them? Seeing this, the leader of the bandits frowned. He thought to himself, they haven't experienced the beating of society, so they don't know how ruthless the dragon bandits are. Brothers, let's attack together and destroy these bastards. With a shout, more than 60 people immediately rushed out from the edge. However, right after they rushed out, all of them suddenly stopped moving. The space around them seemed to have been sealed. No matter how hard they tried, no matter how much energy they used, they couldn't move at all. They were shocked. Not good. There's a space attribute giant dragon. The golden sword was the first to strike. His entire being seemed to have become one with the sword. In an instant, he attacked the dragon bandits at the very front. Whoosh! The dragon bandit's head exploded. The rest of the dragon bandits' expressions changed. They hurriedly struggled with all their might. These students were still lacking in actual combat experience, so they couldn't seize the opportunity of Kong Ming's space imprisonment. They were slightly slower, and the dragon bandits broke free. There were too many people here. Kong Ming's space imprisonment could only imprison them for 3 seconds at most. After these dragon bandits broke free, they all revealed their ferocity. The bandit leader roared angrily, "Kill them!" He could tell that although some of these students were of the space attribute, their levels weren't high. They couldn't imprison them for too long. Moreover, these students didn't cooperate well with each other. In addition, they had 3 times the number of these students. If they still couldn't win, they wouldn't be able to survive. That was why he ordered these brothers to kill these students. These students were indeed lacking in actual combat experience. In addition, they weren't as fierce as the dragon bandits to begin with. The dragon bandits had the aura of desperation, which they couldn't compare to. Therefore, they were at a disadvantage as soon as they started fighting. Whoosh! A student's chest was pierced through. Crack! A student's leg was directly cut off. Puff! At this moment, another student's head flew into the air. Wang Yi pretended not to see this. These students were the top geniuses of their respective families. They were usually doted on by everyone. They had never suffered such a blow before. If they didn't suffer a little now, they might not be able to take it if they had to suffer again when they entered society. Rather than that, it was better to let them suffer now. This way they would grow faster. Soon, these students all fell to the ground. Even if they had the Earth attribute light shield of Earth City, they couldn't withstand the attacks of so many dragon bandits. When Mo Shi saw that one of the students was about to be beaten to death, he used his telekinesis to save him. Mo Shi snatched the body and head of the student who had lost his head. He put the body and head together, opened his mouth, and poured a bottle of medicine inside. In just 5 minutes, the student's head was connected. It was intact. This was the healing medicine that Mo Shi had received after signing in at the 10,000 Dragons Star Zone. If this healing medicine was placed on Earth, an ordinary person would be able to heal any wound instantly after drinking a bottle. It was also because this student had a dragon body that his recovery was so slow. Soon, almost all the students fell to the ground. Mo Shi shook his head slightly and saved them all. Then he shouted to Earth City in the distance, "You're here!" When the seriously injured students saw this, they all looked at their teacher in surprise. 19 of them attacked at the same time, but they were still beaten up so badly. Their teacher actually let Earth City go up alone? Wouldn't that be an instant kill? When the dragon bandits saw Mo Shi's methods, they were also slightly afraid of Mo Shi. But when they saw that Mo Shi didn't do it himself, but sent a student up, they laughed. One by one, they all laughed. Ha 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 ha. So many people can't beat us. Your teacher sent you to your death. You fool, you were deceived by your teacher, and you're still working for him. Sigh, what kind of teachers are they now? They're still calling themselves dragon bandits. They tricked students to their deaths. Alright, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. However, Earth City didn't care about the more than 50 dragon bandits. Go kill him. The bandit leader roared. The other dragon bandits immediately let out a shout and charged towards the Earthen City. Chapter 602. When Tuqing appeared alone in front of the 60 dragon bandits, all the students were stunned. Tuqing. Instructor, how can you let him deal with so many dragon bandits alone? Instructor, get him to come back. Tuqing, you idiot, come over here. Tuqing had always been the one at the bottom of their class. It had been almost 60 years since he entered the academy. His level had never increased. Because of the limited energy in his body, he could not learn any slightly advanced earth attribute skills. Now there were 19 of them with all kinds of attributes, but they were still defeated by those dragon bandits. Tuqing, on the other hand, was facing 60 dragon bandits one by one. This was completely suicide. However, Mo Shi was not moved at all. Tuqing was also not moved. Facing those dragon bandits who were mocking him, he turned around and looked at Mo Shi. Mo Shi nodded slightly at him. The next moment Tuqing roared, "Ah!" When those dragon bandits saw this, they could not help but laugh. That's quite scary. It's okay to scare a little girl. But don't you know who I am? As they said that, those dragon bandits continued to pounce. They were going to chop Tuqing into meat paste. However, at this moment, Tuqing suddenly leaped into the air. At the same time, his body rapidly expanded and changed. His skin began to petrify, and even his eyes began to petrify. His body no longer looked like a human, but like a huge rock. And this huge rock was still growing. In just a moment, it had turned into a mountain 10,000 meters tall, more than 50 kilometers long and wide. When those students saw this, their eyes almost popped out. Tuqing? This? Oh my God! Those dragon bandits who had just pounced over also had a drastic change in expression. They had seen dragons that were tens of thousands of meters long, and they had also seen super-evolved dragons that were 100,000 meters long. But this guy could turn into a 100,000-meter tall mountain. They had never seen it before. In shock, they hurriedly wanted to escape. However, it was too late. That mountain fell from the sky. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The ground shook violently. Mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Within a radius of hundreds of kilometers, there was an extremely strong tremor. Trees toppled and birds bugled. As for the area within 50 kilometers, there was no movement at all, because everything was firmly pressed down by this huge mountain. Rumble, rumble, with a thought, Mo Shi brought the students away from their original spot. It was floating in the sky more than 60 kilometers away. Looking at his eyes, everything was shaking. It was as if someone was constantly running around with a camera in their hand. The tremors lasted for more than 5 minutes. The smoke and dust that filled the air lasted for a full 15 minutes. When a gust of wind blew and the dust settled, the mountain had already disappeared. A figure could be seen slowly emerging from the dust cloud. It was the unremarkable Tuqing. Around him, within a radius of 50 kilometers, the ground had sunk several dozen meters deep. All the trees, rocks, mountains, and rivers inside no longer existed. As for the close to 60 dragon bandits, they had long been crushed into thin pieces of paper. They were like human specimens that had been crushed, sinking deep into the ground. Seeing this scene, except for Tuqing, all the students were dumbfounded. Was this still the guy who ranked last in their eyes? It had been almost 60 years since he entered school. This Tuqing couldn't do anything but eat first. This kind of student was often the most annoying. So there was no one in the class who had a good relationship with him. He had also given up and lost his drive to improve. In everyone's eyes, this guy was just waiting to graduate and leave. But now, the close to 60 dragon bandits that 19 of them couldn't deal with together were killed by him in one move? Wasn't this 2F** king big of a contrast? And it could actually become such a huge mountain. This was really F** king ridiculous. It seemed that not to mention 60 people, even if it was 600 people, 6,000 people, or even 60,000 people, Tuqing could also kill them in one move. It was said that Golden Sword was ignorant below the super-evolved dragon. But looking at Tuqing, he was probably infinitely close to the super-evolved dragon. One must know that he was only a rank 1 evolved dragon. In everyone's shock, Tuqing slowly walked over. Mo Shi asked with a smile, "How do you feel?" Tuqing: "A little disgusting." With that, he vomited all over the ground. After all, it was his first time killing people. Killing dragons. And killing so many at once, it would be strange if he didn't feel disgusted. When he was almost done vomiting, a group of students said one after another, "Tuqing, you're really something. We were all blind before. Is this the power of the planetary body? Didn't you say before that the planetary body needs to be comprehended, and there is only a 1 in 10,000 chance of successfully comprehending it? I can't see that you usually look like a broken jar, but in fact, it's all for us to see. It's only been 2 months, and you've already comprehended it to this extent." This was the first time Tuqing had been praised by his classmates in the past 60 years. He, who had always had a face as thick as a city wall, scratched the back of his head in embarrassment and laughed twice. "It's not that I comprehended quickly, it's that the mentor taught me well." This was the truth. Although he had a planetary body, he wasn't too smart. With his brain, he wouldn't be able to comprehend it even if he was given 8 lifetimes. It was Mo Shi who put him in the Earth space so that he could experience hundreds of millions of years in a few seconds. It allowed him to constantly feel the formation of a planet. When he really couldn't comprehend it, Mo Shi used the omniscience and omnipotence in the Earth space to directly make him comprehend it in an instant. This repeated over and over again, and he was able to reach his current level in more than 2 months. All the students listened and looked at Mo Shi. They believed that Tuqing's words must have been taught well by Mentor Mo. Without Mentor Mo, Tuqing probably wouldn't have been able to reach 1 in 10,000 of what he had just done in this lifetime. It wasn't just Tuqing. Without the mentor, all of them were still the same as they were 2 months ago. The self-righteous students of Cloud Sea Academy were all complacent. They didn't know what a real fight was, and they didn't know how dangerous the fight with the dragon bandits was. When Mentor Jean Pandu left, they were still in a bad mood. They even planned to take over the mentor of their class. Now that they think about it, they were really stupid. If they had really driven Mentor Mo away, it would definitely have been the stupidest thing they had ever done in their lives. Chapter 603. When Tuqing Earth City killed nearly 60 dragon bandits in one move, the students were naturally surprised. Even Tuqing himself was quite surprised by himself. Although he knew that he could transform into a mountain, he never dared to think that he could kill so many dragons in one move. One had to know that those guys were all of a higher level than him. And it wasn't just 1 or 2 levels higher. This made Tuqing's eyes fill with tears. If his parents knew that he could kill so many dragons in one move, he didn't know how excited they would be. But Mo Shi wasn't excited at all. If he had to say that there was an emotional change, it would be gratification. The kind of gratification a teacher felt when he saw his student improving. At this moment, the system's sexy voice sounded in Mo Shi's mind: frowny face dragon slaying. 334500. He was one step closer to advancing to a rank 6 super-evolved dragon. He reckoned that after exterminating all the dragon bandits in the Misty Mountains, he would be able to level up no matter what. Next, Mo Shi took out some healing potions for the students to apply and consume. The recovery speed of these potions he received from the system was very abnormal. No matter how serious the injuries of the students were, they could recover within 5 minutes. This caused the students to be very surprised. "Teacher, where did you get this healing potion? I'll get my family to buy some too." Mo Shi smiled and shook his head. "It's a secret ancestral recipe, self-made." The class monitor, Shui Bo Lan, took the bottle and looked at it. He looked up and asked, "Teacher, can I buy some from you? You can name the price." Shui Bo Lan wasn't short of money. But was Mo Shi short of money? What a joke. He didn't need to spend money on cultivation. The Lei family paid for his food, accommodation, and other expenses. Therefore, he didn't spend much money usually. He shook his head and said, "These potions of mine are all exclusive. I won't sell them for any price. You guys are my students, so I'm letting you use them for free. If it were anyone else, you can recover on your own." Shui Bo Lan could only shake his head helplessly. "All right, rest up. When you guys are fully recovered, we'll head to the next Dragon Bandit's lair." The students didn't have any complaints. Although they had failed to suppress the bandits just now, after that fierce battle, they had experienced the cruelty of real combat. At the same time, they had also learned a lot. They had learned to not hold back when facing their enemies. He had learned that when facing an enemy, he had to put aside all the principles of Jianghu, etiquette, justice, integrity, and shame. Only if he could survive would he have the chance to talk about these things. At the same time, they also learned a lot of combat skills. Some of the moves that they thought were cool before were useless in battle. They learned that in a battle of life and death, they should throw away all the fancy tricks. Instead, he used the simplest and most direct movements to greet the opponent's most fatal weakness. They rested for more than half an hour. This half an hour was mainly for the students to recover mentally. His body only needed 5 minutes to recover. However, they had just experienced such a great battle, and it would be difficult for them to recover in a short period of time. Mo Shi had given them half an hour of rest, but it was far from enough for them. But that was exactly what Mo Shi wanted. According to him, giving these students half an hour of rest was already more than enough. On a real battlefield, the enemy wouldn't be so nice as to give you half an hour to rest. If it was a large battlefield, the beginning of the battle may take a few hours, or even more than 10 hours. Would the enemy give me time to rest during this period? When Mo Shi was on Earth, he faced hundreds of millions of zombies. Who would give you time to rest in the wild at that time? As soon as you encountered a zombie, you had to fight immediately. And at that time, his recovery ability was far less than the current students. Didn't he survive? After half an hour, most of the students had not recovered mentally. Among all the students, only Golden Sword and Tuching Earth City looked normal. Golden Sword had always been sharp, and there was nothing wrong with his quick recovery. Tuching Earth City, on the other hand, didn't participate in any battle at all. Just one move, and the other side was finished. Therefore, he hardly needed any recovery time. It was just that he had just turned into a mountain, which made him a little tired. The body of a planet is different from the general dragon. The body of a planet doesn't care how much energy there is in the body. It's about perception. As long as you perceive it, even if there is no energy in the body, you can turn into a mountain. The body of a planet only needs physical strength. The better the physical strength, the longer the time you can turn into a mountain. Right now, Golden Sword could only last for more than 10 seconds at a time. Therefore, Mo Shi had given him 2 tasks these days. One was to perceive the body of a planet, and the other was to train his physical strength. And these could be done in an extremely short time in Earth space. At the same time, Mo Shi also had a plan. After eliminating the dragon bandits here, he would let these students enter his Earth space for a period of secret training. The reason why he didn't bring them in before was that he wasn't familiar with these students. He didn't know their morals. Now, after a period of understanding, coupled with their admiration for Mo Shi in their hearts, Mo Shi was completely at ease with them. The Misty Mountains were very big. With the students' flying speed, it took more than an hour to reach the second Dragon Bandit lair. When they landed in the Dragon Bandit lair, the students looked at the cave entrance and were all very surprised. The Misty Mountains were full of fog. The visibility was less than 10 meters. Even if they used the perception ability of a giant dragon, they could only sense a range of 100 meters at most. Perhaps even the dragon bandits who had been living here all their lives would get lost if they flew in the air like them. How did the instructor distinguish the path? Moreover, these dragon bandits had been here for hundreds of years, and the government couldn't do anything to them. They couldn't find the path here either. How did the instructor know where the dragon bandits were? Of course, they didn't know that their instructor wasn't just a powerful super-evolved giant dragon. He was also a level 10 Long Yen Shi. In the 10,000 Dragon Star Zone, Long Yanshi wasn't as strong as on Earth or the Flaming Land. After all, everyone was a giant dragon. It was very difficult to hurt them with Dragon Will. But Dragon Will was still very useful. Its greatest use was to scout out the situation in the surroundings. On the Flaming Land, the highest was level 10 Long Yanshi. And because Dragon Will didn't add much to battle, very few Long Yanshi would spend the effort to cultivate to level 10. Usually, they would cultivate to level 5 or level 6 or level 7 at most. That was because Dragon Will was harder to cultivate at the later levels. And giant dragons would spend more time on their own leveling up, so they naturally didn't pay much attention to cultivating Dragon Will. Chapter 604. Because there were no dragons to focus on cultivating their Dragon Will, Mo Shi's level 10 Long Yanshi surprised these students. Next, Mo Shi let the students analyze the enemy's situation and come up with a corresponding attack plan. Occasionally, he would give some guidance from the side. Half an hour later, these students finished their analysis and discussion, and then began to implement their plan. Another half an hour later, the plan was successfully implemented. Of course, this plan did not include Earth City. Earth City was too strong. If it killed all of them in an instant, what else was there to plan? And in order to train their abilities, they could not let Earth City kill them in an instant. The result was obvious. These students were beaten up by the dragon bandits until they could not take care of themselves. But this time, it was better than last time. This time, they first let Kong Ming do a wave of control, then let the Ice Beauty do another wave of control. Then, the water element Water Ripple did a wave of control. The 3 consecutive waves of crowd control lasted for a total of 10 seconds. The rest of the students took advantage of these 10 seconds to kill 8 dragon bandits. This made Mo Shi very happy. The most gratifying thing for a teacher was to see the improvement of his students. However, these students killed the 8 dragon bandits, which made the rest of the dragon bandits furious. They crazily took revenge on them. These students were soon beaten to a pulp. At this moment, Mo Shi used the Dragon Will to pull these students back. At the same time, Earth City moved again. It turned into a mountain and pressed down. All the dragon bandits were instantly destroyed. In Mo Shi's mind, the dragon slaying points increased by more than 50. Dragon slaying points, 388,500. In the next 2 days, they destroyed 6 groups of dragon bandits. The students improved more and more. When they destroyed the 6th dragon bandit group, they were no longer being beaten up one-sidedly. Instead, they were able to fight the dragon bandits to a draw. One had to know that their numbers had always been inferior to the dragon bandits. Moreover, these dragon bandits were all people who licked blood on the blade, desperados. With 1/3 of the dragon bandits' numbers, it was already quite an achievement to be able to fight them to a draw. Mo Shi originally wanted to let the students train for a few more days. Unfortunately, there were only so many dragon bandits in the Misty Mountains, and they were all wiped out. Mo Shi could not help but shake his head. Squad leader Shui Bolin asked, "Instructor, why did you shake your head? Is it because we didn't do well enough?" Mo Shi asked, "What do you think?" Shui Bolin thought for a moment and said, "Compared to those students of the same level, we have already done very well." Mo Shi shook his head. "It's too small. I've seen someone who, at your level, was already invincible against anyone below the super-evolved colossal dragon." Shui Bolin shook her head. "What's so strange about that? Isn't the golden sword also able to do the same?" Mo Shi smiled. "Jianghu is good at one-on-one fights, but the person I know is good at one-on-one fights. 1 against 100, 1 against 1,000. They're still ignorant of those below the super-evolved colossal dragon." Shui Bolin shrugged his shoulders. "That's not surprising. Tuching Earth City can do 1 against 1,000. Mo Shi shook his head again. "Tuching Earth City needs someone to cooperate and control the enemy within the range of his big move to show great lethality. And the person I know doesn't need the cooperation of others at all. Shuttling through thousands of troops, he can also stroll leisurely." Mu Wanqing lowered her head and asked in a low voice, "Instructor, the person you're talking about, is yourself?" Mo Shi smiled but did not answer. The students were all curious. Their tutor was able to train them to such an extent in just 2 months. Their instructor's strength must be extraordinary. It was very likely that he was a super-evolved colossal dragon. But as for how strong their instructor was, they had never seen it. Instructor, your realm should be a super-evolved colossal dragon, right? Is it rank 1 or rank 2? Tuching Earth City asked. Mo Shi still smiled and did not answer. If there's a chance in the future, you may see it. Seeing that Mo Shi did not answer their questions, the students could only give up. But in private, they guessed that Mo Shi was very likely a rank 1 super-evolved colossal dragon. There were only about 10,000 rank 1 super-evolved colossal dragons in the entire Cloud Sea Star. With such a person as their instructor, their ancestors' graves would probably be smoking. Of course, there were also people who guessed that he was a rank 2 super-evolved colossal dragon. There were only 5 or 6,000 of them in the entire Cloud Sea Star. If their instructor was really rank 2, their ancestors' graves would probably be on fire. As for rank 3 or 4, they did not even dare to think about it. There were only a few hundred rank 3 super-evolved colossal dragons in the Cloud Sea Star. There were only 70 or 80 rank 4 ones. Each of them was a big shot. How could they come to the Cloud Sea Academy to teach students? What they did not know was that when they killed those dragon bandits, Mo Shi had already advanced to a rank 6 super-evolved colossal dragon. A rank 6 super-evolved colossal dragon was a unique existence in the entire Cloud Sea Star. Even the Star Lord of the Cloud Sea Star was only a rank 5 super-evolved colossal dragon. In the entire star field, only those who reached rank 5 and above could become Star Lords. In other words, Mo Shi's strength now did not lose to any Star Lord. Even if his level was lower than theirs, with Mo Shi's ability to challenge those of a higher level, he could fight them head-on. So on any planet, he could walk sideways, vertically, or diagonally. He could walk however he wanted. At this moment, Mo Shi looked at the dragon slaying points in his mind. Frowny-faced dragon slaying points. 11211000. It would be difficult for him to level up again in the short term. Unless Mo Shi went on a killing spree and slaughtered all the colossal dragons on the planet. In that case, he could quickly become an ancient colossal dragon. But he did not know much about the star field. Who knew if there were some hidden big shots that could kill him with one slap? So now, Mo Shi still adhered to one principle. Develop wretchedly and don't be reckless. If he wanted to be reckless, he would nurture these students and let them go out and do whatever they wanted. Since there were no more dragon bandits in the Misty Mountains, Mo Shi planned to bring these students back to the academy to take the final exam. But they had just flown for more than 1,000 kilometers when Mo Shi suddenly stopped. The students also stopped. Mo Shi turned to the right and said, "All of you, step back." The students knew that when they encountered something stronger than them, the teachers would usually let them deal with it themselves. Now that the teacher was telling them to step back, it meant that this thing was far from what they could deal with. Soon they sensed that thing. Everyone's expression changed drastically. Because within their range of perception, they could not see the full appearance of that thing at all. This was enough to show that the thing was huge. Some students hurriedly turned on their multifunctional watches and opened the Star Beast Cub level test software. Soon, the test results were out. And in the past, the test results only showed the level. This time, the screen kept flashing with a red light and a warning sound. Warning. You have encountered a 250-year-old Star Beast Cub. It is equivalent to a rank 5 super-evolved colossal dragon. Please avoid it as soon as possible. Please avoid it as soon as possible. Hearing this, all the students were stunned. 250-year-old Star Beast Cub? Equivalent to a rank 5 super-evolved colossal dragon. An existence on the same level as a Star Master. Chapter 605. All 20 students were dumbfounded when they saw the feedback on their multifunctional watches. A 250-year-old Star Beast Cub. It was equivalent to a level 5 super-evolved giant dragon. Even if all 20 of them transformed into giant dragons, they would not be able to defeat this Star Beast Cub. Even Earth City, which had a planetary body, was nothing in front of this Star Beast Cub. It could slap him back to his original form with just a tail. All the students looked at Mo Shi involuntarily. They thought that even the instructor would not be able to do anything in front of this Star Beast Cub. After all, the Star Beast Cub was equivalent to a level 5 super-evolved giant dragon. No matter how strong the instructor was, he was only a level 2 super-evolved giant dragon. There was a difference of 3 levels. How could they fight? Also, they could not turn around and run when they encountered a star beast cub. Because if they ran, it would be equivalent to showing weakness. The star beast cub would chase after them like a dog. Then it would be over. They had never encountered such a situation before. No matter how strong the star beast cub they encountered before was, there was always an instructor behind them. They did not need to panic at all. But this time, they were really panicking. However, when they looked at Mo Sure, they only saw Mo Sure say to them indifferently, "Don't worry. Wait here." The next moment, they flew toward the star beast cub. They did not even have time to shout. Soon, the instructor had already flown out of their perception range. They could only hear a huge sound coming from that direction, as if a meteorite had fallen to the ground. Then there was a huge shockwave that caused the thick fog to tumble. They were also sent flying for about 5 kilometers by this huge shockwave. The next moment, everyone's expression changed drastically. Because in their perception, the star beast cub was flying toward them. Everyone hurriedly scattered in all directions. The next moment, a star beast cub that was more than 10 kilometers long and shaped like a giant kuan streaked across the thick fog in front of them. Just looking at this giant kuan made everyone's hair stand on end. In front of this giant kuan, they seemed so small. Even if they transformed into giant dragons that were thousands of meters long, they were not worth mentioning at all in front of this giant kuan. However, this giant kuan flew past them for a few seconds before it started to fall rapidly. Finally, it crashed to the ground. The mountain below collapsed with a loud bang. The forest below the mountain was crushed by the huge rocks and the giant leviathan's body, making cracking noises. All the students' faces were filled with shock. More than 10 seconds later, the giant leviathan below remained motionless. Only then did they realize that the giant leviathan wasn't flying towards them. Instead, he was smashed by a huge force. It was as if an invisible giant hand had strangled the giant kuan and thrown it over. Moreover, the giant leviathan's entire body had been sealed in ice. When it landed on the ground, ice shards scattered everywhere. Just as they were all trembling in fear, the teacher's figure appeared in the thick fog in front of them. The teacher glanced at them and said, "Let's go." Then, he turned around and flew forward. All the students suddenly realized something at this moment. All of them looked at their teacher in disbelief. Wait, this was an instant kill? Teacher actually killed a giant leviathan in seconds? A giant leviathan equivalent to a Tier 5 super-evolved colossal dragon. Good heavens! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. He was so shocked that he couldn't react for a long time. That meant that the teacher was at least a Tier 6 super-evolved colossal dragon. After reaching the level of a super-evolved colossal dragon, the gap between each tier was huge. Therefore, a Tier 6 super-evolved colossal dragon could easily kill a creature equivalent to a Tier 5 super-evolved colossal dragon. Hiss. Teacher, he's a Tier 6? Oh my god, this. What did this mean? It meant that the teacher's strength was even stronger than the Star-Lord. It meant that on the entire Cloud Sea Star, the teacher was undoubtedly the ceiling of combat strength. It meant that as long as the teacher was willing, he could completely take over the ruling rights of a planet. Why aren't you leaving? Are you going to stay here and feed the giant leviathan? Mo Sure's voice came from the thick fog in front of them. This pulled all the students back to reality. Then, they were all extremely excited. They hurriedly followed the teacher's figure. With such a teacher, they didn't know how many good deeds they had done in their previous lives and how much merit they had accumulated. If their relatives and friends knew about this, they would be shocked. Imagining the shocked expressions on their relatives' and friends' faces, they felt a burst of joy in their hearts. However, the teacher seemed to have seen through their thoughts. Don't mention what happened today to anyone, including your parents and friends. As your teacher, I'm used to keeping a low profile and don't want to be disturbed by outsiders. If you mention it, don't blame me for kicking you out of Year 6 Class 3. At the end, Mo Sure's voice revealed a trace of sternness. At the same time, Long Wei instantly spread out. In the hearts of all the students, a sense of competition that seemed to come from their bones suddenly rose up. Then, they secretly made up their minds to not reveal a single word to anyone. Because the teacher had never been so strict before. If they were to reveal it, with the Long Wei that the teacher displayed, they were afraid that he might really kill them. A teacher killing a student was originally a big deal. But the teacher was an existence that surpassed the Star-Lord, so it was a different story. Even the Star-Lord couldn't do anything to him, so who would dare to punish him? And they weren't stupid. To be able to follow such a teacher as a student was something that they had cultivated for 8 lifetimes. How could they ruin this opportunity so easily? That afternoon, they returned to the academy. Along the way, the students were very respectful to Mo Shi and were no longer as casual as before. Even if Mo Shi was more easygoing and even joked with them, they didn't dare to be as casual as before. When they returned to the academy and walked on the tree-lined path in the academy, the students who passed by all covered their mouths and snickered. The students of Class 6 Class 3 naturally knew what they were laughing about. They were laughing at the students of Class 6 Class 3 for being in such a sorry state. Many of their clothes were like beggars, and their hair was dirty and messy. They didn't look like students, but like they had escaped from somewhere. Even some of the teachers were a little surprised when they saw the students of Class 6 Class 3 like this. "Teacher Mo, your class is..." Mo Shi waved his hand and said, "Let them go to the slums to experience life. Otherwise, if they think that they are students of Cloud Sea Academy, they will always be high and mighty and not down to earth. I'm afraid it will hurt a lot." Those teachers all gave Mo Shi a thumbs up. Teacher Mo is so thoughtful. Next semester, let our students experience life. When the students of those classes heard this, their faces immediately darkened. As for the students of Class 6 Class 3, although their appearance was sloppy, they were all very proud and arrogant at this moment. When the final exam was in a few days, their Class 6 Class 3 would definitely surprise everyone. Chapter 606. The Dean summoned all the teachers for a meeting. When the other teachers arrived, the Dean only nodded to them as a greeting. However, when Mo Shi arrived, the Dean stood up and welcomed him. He said warmly, "Teacher Mo is here. Come and sit." This made the other teachers feel strange. The Dean had always been very calm. Even in the face of a landslide, his expression would not change. Why was he so enthusiastic when he saw Teacher Mo today? Of course, they did not know that the Dean had guessed that Mo Shi was a super-evolved dragon. As for Mo Shi, who was also a super-evolved dragon, the Dean naturally had a higher opinion of him than the other teachers. After all the other teachers had arrived, the Dean started the meeting. The content of the meeting was about the final exam. We have chosen to hold the final exam on the nearby Cloud Ridge planet. Cloud Ridge planet was a satellite of Cloud Sea planet. It was similar to the relationship between Earth and the Moon. Cloud Ridge planet was not big, and it had not been developed before. It was completely untouched. The entire surface of Cloud Ridge planet was covered by plants. There were hundreds of millions of star beast cubs on Cloud Ridge planet. Occasionally, some schools would hold tests or exams here. The Dean said, "For this final exam, every student in every class will enter Cloud Ridge planet to hunt star beast cubs. In the end, we will choose the 20 students with the highest level and the highest number of star beast cubs to participate in the 100-star competition during the summer break." The so-called 100-star competition was a competition where each planet would send out 20 of their strongest students to participate in the competition. It was held every 4 years. It was the most important competition for these planets. Logically speaking, the schools of Cloud Sea Planet should compete to choose the 20 most outstanding students. However, the Ocean of Clouds Academy had the ability to monopolize all 20 of them. Because according to the experience of previous years, the 20 spots would be taken by Cloud Sea Academy in the end. Therefore, after some discussion, they decided that there was no need to go through so much trouble to hold the internal competition of Cloud Sea Planet. That would be a waste of time and dragon power. It was better to just give all the spots to Cloud Sea Academy. The Dean continued to speak and finally asked all 42 teachers, "Does anyone have any opinions or suggestions? Feel free to voice them out." The teachers all shook their heads. The Dean smiled and asked Mo Shi, "Teacher Mo, do you have anything to say?" All the instructors were shocked once again. It seemed like the Dean valued Instructor Mo a lot. What kind of background did he have? They didn't believe that Instructor Mo was that strong. To be valued by the Dean, one had to be at least at the super-evolved dragon level. Could this Instructor Mo be a super-evolved dragon? What a joke. Mo Shi smiled and replied, "That's right. I think that if it's fair, all 20 slots will be given to us. That way, We won't have to waste time fighting for a spot.
As soon as this was said, there was a moment of silence.
Wasn't Instructor Mo too arrogant? Even if the dean thinks highly of you, you don't have to be so arrogant. Did he have any respect for the other instructors? This was especially true for the mentors of the graduating classes. They were all enraged. Instructor Mo, don't you think you're exaggerating? Instructor Mo, how long have you been here? You don't know the strength of the other classes. We don't blame you. But by saying such big words, you are not giving face to the other teachers of the other classes. Especially the teacher of Year 1 Class 0, Yu Yanran, who had a fiery temper. She slammed the table and stood up. Instructor Mo, don't think that just because you're leading a graduating class, the students in your class are stronger than the first years. Lei Ran from our class is strong enough to kill anyone in your class. Hee hee. Mo sure laughed. He sensed Lei Ran passing by the conference room.
He immediately shouted, "Lei Ran, come in."
The conference room door was pushed open, and Lei Ran walked in. When all the instructors saw Lei Ran, they couldn't help but size him up carefully. Yu Yanran had always been high profile. Such a genius from their class could actually challenge someone who was 5 ranks higher than him in the first year. Yu Yanran naturally wanted to publicize this matter. So much so that the entire academy already knew about Lei Ran. It wouldn't be a problem for this guy to challenge those 6th years. A mentor said, among the 20 spots, at least one of them should be Lei Ran. Yeah, he's the only one in our academy who can challenge opponents who are 5 ranks higher. I think that if it's really fair, Lei Ran should be the one who gets a spot without having to compete. Recently, there had been news about the final exam. Lei Ran had also heard some of it. Now that he heard these mentors say this and saw that they seemed to be targeting Mo sure, he shook his head. No. You guys think too highly of me. Instructor Mo's students are far from what I can compare to. I think the top 20 should all be in Instructor Mo's class. Just give it to them directly and save time. The other mentors were stunned when they heard this. Especially Yu Yanran, who was dumbfounded. Lei Ran was usually very arrogant in the class. Not only in the class, even in the entire academy, he wasn't afraid of the 6th years at all. After all, his strength was there. Many 6th years had to take a detour when they saw him. Why was he so afraid when he saw Mo sure? Yu Yanran slapped Lei Ran. Why are you so cowardly? How is this the usual you? Lei Ran laughed dryly and said, actually, my abilities were all taught by Instructor Mo before I entered the academy. Without him, I wouldn't be who I am today. I was just a good-for-nothing playboy before, and he could teach me like this. Most of the students in the 3rd class are geniuses. Instructor Mo has taught them for so long. Their strength must have improved by leaps and bounds. So I'm not a coward. I know my own name. By the way, Dean, can I transfer directly to Instructor Mo's class? As soon as this remark came out, everyone present looked at each other. Lei Ran was also taught by Instructor Mo? The Dean and Yu Yanran had already known this. Yu Yanran snorted coldly. Lei Ran, you little traitor. Don't say that you are a student of our class in the future. Lei Ran was not afraid of Yu Yanran at all. Instead, he said directly to the Dean, Dean, you see, Instructor Yu doesn't want me anymore. I'm homeless. Please be merciful and let me transfer directly to the 3rd class of the 6th year. Yu Yanran was so angry that she gritted her teeth. The Dean also shook his head and smiled bitterly. Although your strength is good, you still lack various theoretical knowledge. You have to start learning from the 1st grade. And don't you live with Instructor Mo? You can learn from him after school in the afternoon. Chapter 607. Mo sure said arrogantly in the meeting room that they should be given to class 6 to 3. Of course, the dean couldn't really give them to class 6 to 3. The participants had to be selected through the academy's final exam. Following that, every class in the academy entered a state of intense preparation. Especially the 6th grade. They had studied for nearly 60 years and had experienced all kinds of theoretical knowledge and practice many times. In addition, their average level was the highest among all the grades, so theoretically, they had the highest chance of getting a place. Therefore, their preparation work was even more intense. Their homeroom teacher basically spent the rest of his time in class these few days, other than eating and sleeping time. He told the students what to pay attention to, explained the knowledge of all kinds of star beast cubs, and explained all kinds of high-end combat techniques. The busiest classes were Class 6-1 and Class 6-2. Class 6-1 was an elite class, and Class 6-2 was not far behind. In the final exam every year, the results of these two classes were in the top 3. The teachers of these two classes were far more serious and responsible than the teachers of the other classes. They couldn't wait to eat and live with the students. In the entire academy, there was only one class. There was not the slightest bit of tension before the exam. Mo Shi still walked around the classroom every day and let the students prepare for the exam. When he had nothing to do, he would stay in the library and read electronic books to understand everything about the 10,000 Dragon Star region. When it was time, he would get off work on time and not stay for a minute longer. Every time at 5 p.m., after he got off work and left, the other homeroom teachers would always show a trace of disdain. This kind of teacher did not have a trace of seriousness and responsibility. When teacher Jean Pontu was here, Class 6-3 was always first in the grade. In terms of results, discipline, and other aspects, no one could find any fault with them. But now, Teacher Mo? It was said that other than allowing the students to rise by one level, he was practically useless in other aspects. He couldn't teach theoretical knowledge, and he didn't know about the various skills. He came to the academy as a complete loser. He even said that all the spots should be given to his class. What a joke. If they were given to his class, it would be the biggest joke. Just like that, 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. 3 days later, more than 800 students in the academy boarded a giant ship that was more than 10,000 meters long and flew to Cloud Billow Star. The other academies didn't have such a giant ship. In the entire Cloud Sea Star, only the Cloud Sea Academy had a single one. Even though it was a 10,000-meter-long giant ship, it was still extremely fast. In just over half an hour, they arrived at the Cloud Ridge Star. The captain chose a slightly flatter place and stopped. Then, he set up a protective shield within a radius of 50 kilometers. In this way, the area within a radius of 50 kilometers around the giant ship was an absolute safe zone. Everyone can rest and exercise here. However, for these students, there was no opportunity to move at all. As soon as the giant ship landed, it meant that the examination had begun. They had to make the best use of their time and kill as many star beasts as possible within 3 days. Every student was equipped with a tracking device and a camera. If they were in danger, the academy's instructors could quickly rush to their location. Every teacher returned to their own rooms and watched their students in front of the monitor. At the same time, there was a huge screen in the control room. On it were real-time images taken by the cameras carried by all the students. If any student was in danger, the computer would immediately analyze it and then magnify the image of the student in danger and display it. Mo Shi scanned with his dragon's will. Within a radius of 1,000 kilometers, there weren't any strong star beasts. The strongest one was only 170 years old, which was equivalent to a rank 7 evolved giant dragon. For his students, any one of them could take on these star beasts alone. Only Tuqing was able to do so because Mo Shi had been teaching him how to comprehend the formation of a planet and hadn't taught him any skills. However, he was able to use Mount Tai's crushing down every time. Therefore, he seemed to be in a sorry state. When he encountered a star beast cub, he would often fight it with his bare hands. Moreover, he didn't use any moves or skills. It was completely a tortoise's fist. However, because he had a planet body, he was extremely strong. When facing a star beast cub that was 3 or 5 levels higher than him, he only needed one punch to knock it to the ground. As the screen was divided into 800 small panels, it displayed the images of 800 students. Therefore, the dean and the others hadn't noticed this yet. At this moment, Mo Shi didn't pay attention to this. Instead, he carried a pot of tea and went to the top of the giant ship. He sat on the deck, enjoying the breeze, drinking tea, and admiring the scenery of Cloud Ridge Planet. The biggest characteristic of this place was one word: green. Looking around, the entire surface was covered in green plants. The air was naturally fresh. If there weren't outsiders, he would have let them out to enjoy the beautiful scenery together. At the same time, in the main control room, after the dean and the leaders of the academies confirmed that everything was on track, they said, "Show me the images of the students of Class 6-3. Others didn't know, but he knew. Instructor Mo of Class 6-3 was a super-evolved giant dragon. Since he dared to say that all the slots should belong to Class 6-3, there must be something special about him. Soon, the 20 students of Class 6-3 were magnified and displayed on the big screen. When all the instructors saw the students of Class 6-3 on the big screen, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. The golden sword was an extremely sharp energy sword. Wherever it passed, it was basically insta-killed. A 110-year star beast cub. Insta-killed. A 150-year star beast cub. Insta-killed. A 170-year star beast cub. Insta-killed. It wasn't just the golden sword. The other students might not be able to insta-kill them, but it was very easy for them to deal with these star beast cubs. All kinds of moves and skills emerged one after another. It was dazzling. Moreover, the recruitment of these students basically didn't have any fancy moves. They were usually the simplest and most practical. Compared to the students of Class 6-3, the other students were like a group of babies who had just learned to walk. In Class 6-3, the only student who looked to be in a sorry state was Earth City. However, the instructors didn't have much hope for him. He was famous for being at the bottom of the rankings in the academy. Since the first year, he hadn't advanced by one rank and hadn't learned a skill of the corresponding rank. However, just as they casually scanned the image of Earth City, their gazes froze. The casual expressions on their faces turned into extreme shock. Chapter 608. When the mentor's eyes casually scanned through the image of Earth City, they were all suddenly nailed to the frame of Earth City. The dean's eyes were also fixed on the image of Earth City. Then he hurriedly said, "Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in on this student." Soon, the image of Earth City appeared in the center of the screen, completely covering the other images. On the screen, Earth City was in a sorry state. There were no skills or energy weapons. When a pangolin rampaged, breaking dozens of giant trees and pouncing towards him, Chu Feng was stunned. He looked left and right, but couldn't find any place to hide. Left with no other choice, he could only awkwardly leap high into the air. When the pangolin beast came under him, he directly used his fist to smash the pangolin beast's head that was as big as a small mountain. Bang! The pangolin's huge head was suddenly smashed to the ground. Boom! The ground below had sunk more than 10 meters deep. It formed a huge pit with a radius of about 5 kilometers. At the same time, poof! The pangolin's head directly exploded. Blood splattered everywhere. The entire huge pit was suddenly covered with thick and sticky flesh and brain matter. All the mentors who saw this scene were so shocked that they couldn't say a word for a long time. Until a moment later, a mentor opened his mouth and said, "This is too strong. Just relying on physical strength, he can kill a pangolin that is 5 levels higher. This guy is too strong." The pangolin's body is very hard. It can often easily smash through a mountain. Its head is also very hard. Often many evolved giant dragons use energy weapons to form weapons, but it is difficult to penetrate the scales on its head. But this Earth City blew it up with one punch. Teseske, this guy is really too shocking. At this time, Earth City in the image jumped out of the huge pit of flesh and blood. His whole body was blood red. Maybe it was the smell of blood that attracted other star beast cubs. Soon, another hammerhead beast ran over. This was also a strength type and defense type star beast cub. Earth City seemed to be chased to the point where he couldn't hide. And because the hammerhead beast was too fast, he didn't even have the chance to jump up this time. He could only turn back, bite the bullet, and extend his right fist. With his bare fists, he directly collided with the hammerhead beast's huge head. The hammerhead beast's head was about 100 meters tall and 500 meters wide. With his human body, it looked like a mosquito trying to hold up the head of an elephant. However, under such circumstances, the hammerhead beast was blasted more than 10 kilometers away by his attack. After landing on the ground, his head, which was almost invulnerable, actually cracked inch by inch. In the next moment, it exploded. One had to know that this hammerhead beast had reached 170 years of age, which was equivalent to a rank 7 giant dragon. In other words, Tuching Earth City crossed the 6th order punch and killed the hammerhead beast. This was simply too shocking. Apart from the dean, all the other instructors present were filled with shock. None of these instructors could defeat an enemy that was 6 levels higher than them.
It was impossible for him to even take a single blow head-on, let alone kill him with a single blow. Next they saw that in just half an hour, this guy basically circled one small beast at a time.
It was simply unstoppable. It's hard to imagine how touching Earth City can become so strong. Previously, he had always been at the bottom of the 6th years. Now, he is like the first echelon of the 6th years. He, Golden Sword, Kongming, and the others are the top of the 6th years.
Yes, I think so.
Actually, they did not know that touching Earth City was not in the first echelon. Instead, he was the strongest existence among all the 6th years. An existence that could instantly kill hundreds of dragon bandits. Obviously, touching Earth City only changed like this after Instructor Mo took over. In the past 50 years, he has never displayed such strength.
His strength has not changed at all for more than 50 years.
Instructor Mo has only taken over for half a semester, and he has gone from the bottom of the entire academy to the first echelon in one fell swoop. This is simply inconceivable. Not only him, all the other students in Class 63 are ridiculously strong. They are more than 10 times stronger than when Instructor Jean was leading them. Everyone can fight 2 or 3 levels higher or even 3 or 4 levels higher. It's simply terrifying. Now I'm beginning to believe what Instructor Mo said before. At this moment, what the Dean was thinking about was the planetary body that Mo sure had mentioned before. He naturally knew about the planetary body. The planetary body was very strong, but it required time to comprehend. But it took too much time to comprehend. Often, dragons with planetary bodies would die of old age before they could comprehend anything. Only 1 in 10,000 could truly achieve a planetary body. That would require thousands or even tens of thousands of years to comprehend. But after Mo Sure took over Class 63, it had only been 3 months, and touching Earth City had already reached such a powerful level of strength. How did he do it?
After the Dean heard Mo Sure say that touching Earth City was a planetary body, he was thinking about how to provide better conditions for touching Earth City and how to think of a better way for him to comprehend.
But in the past 3 months, he could not think of any substantial help. But he did not expect that in just 3 months, Mo Sure would help touching Earth City become so powerful. From the looks of it, he was probably invincible below the super-evolved dragon. This made him even more surprised by Mo Sure. How did he do it? He used his perception to investigate. At this moment, Mo Sure was leisurely drinking tea on the deck. The other instructors were in their respective rooms, nervously staring at the screen. Comparing the two, it was obvious who was better. Soon, it was the second day. The instructors of the academy all came to the main control room early the next morning, because they wanted to see the results of the other students. Especially the instructors of Class 61 and Class 62, their hearts were filled with excitement, and their footsteps were exceptionally light. The results of the students in their 2 classes were very outstanding. Basically, every student had killed at least 10 star beast cubs. According to the historical exam results, being able to kill so many star beast cubs on the first day was already very good. However, when they came to the central control room, they saw that the big screen did not show the other students. Only 20 students were shown. They were all students of Class 63. Touching Earth City, 57, Golden Sword, 55, Ice Beauty, 53, Shui Bo Lan, 49, Mu Wanqing, 48, Kong Ming, 48. The student with the least number had reached 39. The best student had 15 more than the students in their 2 classes. This caused the 2 instructors of Class 61 and Class 62 to be stunned. At this moment, the conversation of a few leaders could be heard. They killed too quickly. There were not many star beast cubs around for them to kill, so they could only look around. That's right. They wasted all their time on traveling and searching for star beast cubs. Otherwise, I'm afraid that each of them would have killed over 100 star beasts today. The 2 instructors of Class 61 and Class 62 were petrified. Chapter 609. When the teacher in charge of Class 6-1 and Class 6-2 heard the words of the leaders, they were petrified. Class 6-3 was too much of a beast, right? How could their combat power be so strong? Could it be that they were only killing low-level star beasts? Thinking of this, there was still a glimmer of hope in their hearts. Then they continued to walk inside.
When they came to the front of the big screen and saw the performance of the students on the screen, The two of them were petrified again. On the big screen, most of the students in class 6 to 3 were on their way to find star beast cubs. There were only 4 of them. One of them was Golden Sword, and the other was Tuching. Golden Sword condensed a golden sword aura in his right hand, and instantly swept past the side of a 170-year-old star beast cub.
Hiss! The star beast cub's head was directly cut in half. It was killed on the spot. Tuching was even more direct. Facing a 150-year-old star beast cub, he actually used his fist to fight against the star beast cub's teeth. When the star beast cub opened its huge mouth and bit down on him, he punched out. Crack! The star beast cub's sharp teeth were directly broken. At the same time, this punch also exploded the star beast cub's entire head.
Hiss! When the teacher in charge of class 6 to 1 and class 6 to 2 saw this, both of them gasped in shock. Most of the students in their 2 classes would probably take a detour when facing a 150-year-old star beast cub. Even if there was someone who could defeat a 150-year-old star beast cub, it would take a while. Who would be like this guy, exploding it with one punch? He was simply an animal. The dean next to them was still smiling and asking, "Teachers, what do you think of this guy?" The teacher in charge of class 6 to 1 and class 6 to 2 looked at each other and could only smile awkwardly. Very strong. To be able to kill a 150-year-old star beast cub with his bare hands, he is indeed very strong. The dean laughed out loud. You didn't see the scene of him killing a 170-year-old star beast cub with one punch. The 2 teachers were petrified on the spot for the 3rd time. In their 2 classes, none of them could kill a 170-year-old star beast cub. This guy killed it with one punch? Is this for real? At this moment, the dean gave them another heavy blow. Oh, it's not just him. That golden sword, Shui Bo Lan, and Ice Beauty basically killed all the 170-year-old star beasts they encountered. The 2 instructors were numb. You look at me, I look at you. Finally, they looked at the dean at the same time. Then what about the others?
The president shook his head. Only then did the 2 instructors' expressions look a little better. The headmaster continued. The others haven't encountered a 170-year-old astral beast cub yet. We only saw them instantly kill a 160-year-old star beast cub. Poof, poof, invisibly, 2 sounds of blood spurting could be heard.
If he could instantly kill a 170-year-old, then even if he couldn't instantly kill a 160-year-old, it shouldn't be a problem.
This completely destroyed their last bit of hope. That instructor M.O., how exactly does he teach his students? The instructor of class 6 to 1 said subconsciously. The dean said, I really don't know about that. But take a look at Lei Ren from class 0. As the dean spoke, he asked the instructor beside him to bring up Lei Ren's image. Lei Renjing encountered a 160-year-old star beast cub. His right arm transformed into a dragon claw with lightning coiling around its tip. In the next moment, he passed by the 160-year-old star beast cub. Rip! The 200-meter-long body of the 160-year-old astral beast cub was instantly torn in half. There wasn't even a trace of self-recovery. When the instructors of class 6 to 1 and class 6 to 2 saw this, they revealed looks of admiration. Lei Ren is a genius. It's not surprising that he can kill a level 160 astral beast cub. The dean smiled. Lei Ren was also taught by instructor M.O. When the instructors of class 6 to 1 and class 6 to 2 heard this, their eyes dimmed. The dean continued, and according to my understanding, before Lei Ren came to our academy, although he was taught in our academy, but in reality, he wasn't very strong. He was known as the #1 spoiled brat within 1,000 kilometers. You can imagine how weak his combat strength is. Later, when school started, he took a half-semester leave. In fact, it was instructor M.O. who brought him to special training. After the special training, Lei Ren reached the point where he could fight someone 5 grades above him. Also, according to instructor Yu, this isn't Lei Ren's full strength. If Lei Ren used his full strength, he might be able to reach the level of a super-evolved dragon. When they heard the dean's words, it wasn't just the instructors of class 6 to 1 and class 6 to 2. All the higher-ups of the academy sucked in a breath of cold air. In other words, a level 2 evolved dragon could defeat a level 10 evolved dragon? Other than the dean, all the instructors weren't as strong as Lei Ren? How did instructor M.O. teach his students? This was simply like turning stone into gold.
Moreover, to be able to bring Earth City, the last place, to such a state, was completely turning something rotten into something miraculous.
This was simply too inconceivable.
Actually, they didn't know that with Lei Ren's current strength, it was impossible for him to defeat a level 10 evolved dragon. That was just an exaggeration that had been passed around. Lei Ren's true strength was only able to fight someone 5 grades above him. If he could truly master the second transformation of the Thunder Dragon 9 transformations, then he would truly be invincible under the super evolved dragon.
However, these instructors were already shocked.
Dean, after Instructor Jean left, we randomly found someone to replace him.
I didn't expect to find a god-level instructor. The dean also sighed. I didn't expect it either. As he spoke, his consciousness probed out again.
He found that Mo Shi had actually fallen asleep while leaning against the back of the chair,
and his shiny saliva was flowing down. What kind of dragon was this?
Originally, if it continued like this, there would be no problem for Class 6-3 to take the top 20 places. But on the last day of the exam, there was still a problem. On the big screen, a student from Class 5-5 who was hunting star beasts suddenly disappeared.
The screen was filled with snowflakes. The tracker also failed.
Their instructors hurriedly chased him to the location where he disappeared, but they couldn't find any clues. Then, a student from Class 5-2 also disappeared.
Then Class 6-1.
Seeing this, the dean hurriedly ordered the instructors to order the students to withdraw immediately. However, after their orders were issued, they didn't receive any response.
Then, all the screens turned into snowflakes. All the students couldn't be contacted. Those instructors hurriedly searched everywhere. In the end, only 630 of the 800 students were found.
There were still 170 students who were completely uncontactable.
This included the 20 people from Class 6-3.
The atmosphere in the entire academy suddenly became tense. After the dean counted all the students with a calm face, he found that the other classes had lost contact with a few students,
and Class 6-3 had lost contact with the entire class.
This caused everyone to be extremely surprised.
Chapter 6:10.
There were 170 students missing in the entire academy. But the missing students from the other classes seemed to be random. There was no pattern. 3 or 4, 4 or 5, or 7 or 8 students from each class were missing. Only the students from Class 6-3 were missing. This caused all the instructors to scratch their heads in confusion. The dean hurriedly sent out dozens of aircrafts and hundreds of drones to search the area with the missing students as the center. At the same time, the dean thought of Mo Shi and hurried over to ask for Mo Shi's opinion.
Mo Shi said, "It seems that a spatial dragon took them all away."
Could there be dragon bandits hiding in this forest?
The dean asked.
Mo Shi nodded. Judging from the situation just now, it is indeed possible. And they dared to kidnap those students in front of so many instructors.
I think these dragon bandits are not ordinary.
The dean was furious. If they dare to hurt my students, I will destroy all of them. Then the dean thought of something and asked Mo Shi,
"Why were only a few students from the other classes taken away, but your entire Class 6-3 class was taken away?"
Mo Shi smiled.
"These little brats were willing."
"What?
Willing?"
The dean was puzzled. Ordinary students couldn't escape even if they wanted to. But the students of Class 6-3 were willing to be taken away? Mo Shi replied, "Yes, when they were about to kidnap 3 of the students, Kong Ming used his spatial ability to take the rest of the students and chase after them."
"What should we do?"
The dean's face was full of anxiety. Even if he was a super-evolved dragon, if something happened to so many students, he couldn't escape the blame.
Mo Shi waved his hand.
"Dean, don't be impatient. Those dragon bandits took my students away. They should be the ones who should be afraid." The dean understood what Mo Shi meant. The students of Class 6-3 were powerful, and those dragon bandits might not be able to defeat them. But they were still students after all, and had never experienced any fighting. How could they be a match for those ruthless dragon bandits? "Even so, we still have to find them as soon as possible," the dean said.
Mo Shi smiled.
"Don't worry, they will be back soon." Mo Shi's confidence was, of course, well-founded. If the dragon bandits had not taken away everyone in Class 6-3, Mo sure might have been a little worried. However, after snatching away everyone from class 6 to 3, Mo sure wasn't worried at all. The students of class 6 to 3 had fought the dragon bandits with real swords and spears. After training in the Misty Mountains, they were already familiar with the methods of the dragon bandits and how ruthless they were. And their attacks on the dragon bandits were absolutely ruthless. Especially Earth City, one person could destroy hundreds and thousands of dragon bandits. Therefore, there was nothing to worry about. However, even though Mo sure said so, the dean didn't dare to do nothing. He continued to expand the search area, searching for traces of the students. However, there was no news at all. This made all the students and instructors in the academy extremely anxious. At the same time, in a place with picturesque hills and clear waters and smoke rising in spirals, the 170 students suddenly appeared at the same time. Along with them were 2 spatial element dragon bandits. As soon as these students appeared, more than 100 dragon bandits rushed out around them. These dragon bandits all looked ferocious and had all sorts of strange appearances. These students had never seen such a scene before. Some of the more timid ones fell to the ground in fright. Even the bolder ones retreated at this time. Seeing this, the 100 dragon bandits all laughed. They are all little bastards who have never seen the world. Look at that one, he is so scared that he peed himself. Ha ha ha. The leader of the bandits also laughed when he saw this. A few days ago, my master told me that the blood refinement technique needs to refine the blood of a giant dragon. Just one type of blood isn't enough. We have to gather the blood of all 5 elements, and the more the better. This is great. Not only do we have the 5 elements, but we also have the ice, poison, and even poison attributes. The spatial element dragon bandit pointed at Kong Ming and said, "Boss, that kid also has the spatial element." When I brought these students back, he brought a few of them with him. When the students present heard this, their expressions changed drastically. It seemed that these dragon bandits were not ordinary dragon bandits, but dragons of the demonic path. There was such a giant dragon in the entire 10,000 dragon star zone. They felt that ordinary cultivation was too slow, so they took all kinds of shortcuts. Some of them sacrificed their own lifespan to cultivate, while others sacrificed the lives of other giant dragons to cultivate. The former was looked down upon by others and was called the demonic path. The latter was despised by 10,000 dragons. Once the entire 10,000 dragon star zone knew that there was a demonic dragon, they would gang up and attack it. Legend had it that the demonic dragons were all vicious and merciless, far from what the dragon bandits could compare to. The dragon bandits only wanted to kill dragons and steal their treasures. And these demonic dragons might not kill you in one go in order to cultivate. Instead, he's raising you so that he can cultivate and suck your blood every day. This was definitely a fate worse than death. Therefore, when they heard the bandit leader's words, many students were already trembling with fear and trepidation. They had lived in an ivory tower since they were young. Even when they went out to train, they had teachers by their side to protect them. They had never faced such a situation before. However, just as these students were trembling with fear, a ray of golden sword chi was instantly activated. Whoosh 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 whoosh. In a short 3 seconds, 5 rays of sword chi pierced through the heads of 5 dragon bandits. Not only that, dozens of icicles pierced through the heads of 3 dragon bandits. This change happened so suddenly that even the dragon bandits could not react in time. The students of class 6 to 3 retaliated. Lei Ren also retaliated with them. He had also killed dragon bandits with Mo Sure before. Lightning energy was released and instantly electrocuted 4 or 5 dragon bandits. In just 5 seconds, more than 40 dragon bandits had already fallen to the ground. The dragon bandits were all shocked and hurriedly wanted to fight. But soon, the surrounding plants wrapped around their limbs like giant pythons. At the same time, a thick layer of ice formed on all the dragon bandits' bodies. The 2 layers of control made it impossible for them to fight back in a short time. Whoosh 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 whoosh. In another 5 seconds, more than 40 dragon bandits had fallen to the ground. Only now did the dragon bandits completely break free from the control. However, in just 10 seconds, more than half of the dragon bandits had been killed. This made the bandit leader very angry. He had thought that today would be a great harvest, but he did not expect that the ones he collected were all life-threatening ghosts. He really could not understand why these students were different from other students. He had seen many students on other planets, and those students were all so scared in front of him that they did not even dare to fart. Why the hell are these students so aggressive the moment they come up?
Chapter 611. F***CK. Kill him. The bandit leader was infuriated by the sudden change. With an angry roar, a beam of energy blasted towards Lei Ren. However, Lei Ren was paying attention to him. With a light leap, he dodged the energy. Then, he blasted towards the other dragon bandits. For a moment, these dragon bandits were caught off guard. As for the remaining 150 students, they were all dumbfounded by what they saw. How could these students from class 6 to 3 be so valiant? They were even more valiant than the dragon bandits. Previously, some of them were not convinced of class 6 to 3. However, at this moment they were completely convinced. Especially for the two guys, Golden Sword and Tuching Earth City, they are even more admirable. One of them was a sword and the other was a small dragon bandit. Moreover, not only was Golden Sword's attack sharp, but his judgment and grasp of the situation was also quite accurate. He knew that among these dragon bandits, the most difficult one to deal with was the spatial attribute dragon bandit. With him around, these students would be easily controlled by his spatial attribute. It would be difficult for them to resist. Therefore, Golden Sword's first target was the spatial attribute dragon bandit. He stabbed him in half with one sword. The other was a small dragon bandit with one punch. The most terrifying one was Earth City. Although he did not seem to have any moves or skills, he just swung his fists and went up to fight. But none of the dragon bandits could withstand one punch from him. And basically, no matter where the punch landed, a huge hole would be blasted in that area. One had to know that the bodies of giant dragons were extremely tough. Even those specially forged swords would not be able to break through their defenses if they were not imbued with energy. Now, Earth City was actually able to destroy the bodies of these dragon bandits with one punch with just his physical strength. How strong must he be? Soon, under the encouragement of the 20 students from class 6 to 3, the other 150 students also stood up to resist. Naturally, they could not be as strong as the students from class 6 to 3. However, the giant dragon's self-healing ability was extremely strong. As long as you dared to let go of your hand, you would be able to overwhelm your opponent in terms of momentum. Those dragon bandits might seem very ferocious on a daily basis. But at this moment, they did not expect that these students would not only resist, but also resist so fiercely. For a moment, they panicked. Especially when they saw the students from class 6 to 3 kill the dragon bandits in one move, they panicked even more. Therefore, they immediately wanted to scatter and flee. However, they were slowed down by Mu Wanqing's control skill and the Ice Beauty's control skill. He was even slowed down by Kong Ming's control skill. After a few rounds of this, none of them were able to escape. In the end, a total of 133 dragon bandits were wiped out. Looking at the scattered corpses of the dragon bandits, the students from the other classes felt disgusted. Their stomachs were churning, and they all bent over to vomit. Only the students of class 6 to 3, after their previous experience, were still a little disgusted by these things, but not to the point of vomiting. Even Mu Wanqing, who was usually the most timid, did not have any intention of vomiting at this moment. When the students from the other classes saw how valiant the students from class 6 to 3 were, their admiration for class 6 to 3 increased by a few points. Moreover, they were also in awe of the teacher in charge of class 6 to 3. Before Instructor Mo came, although class 6 to 3 was also very strong, they were far from reaching this level. Now, Teacher Mo had only been here for 2 months, and class 6 to 3 was simply inhumanly strong. It was certain that even if the mentors of the academy were here, they would not be able to do better. Following that, these students rested for about 10 minutes. Then, they saw a drone in the distance searching in this direction. A moment later, it found these students. At the same time in the giant ship, the mentors and a few higher-ups of the academy saw the students captured by the drone through the big screen. Those students were all covered in blood, which shocked the mentors. However, they saw that the students were at least still standing. If they could stand, their lives would not be in danger. This made the mentors heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, they saw more than 100 corpses lying around these students. They were even more shocked. Then, the dean hurriedly sent people to bring these students back. They asked these students about the situation. When they heard that the students of class 6 to 3 had launched a counterattack, they were all shocked by the students of class 6 to 3. Originally, it was already quite shocking that more than 100 students had defeated more than 100 dragon bandits. Now the students of class 6 to 3 had already launched a counterattack while the students of the other classes were still in shock. In the end, half of these more than 100 dragon bandits were killed by the students of class 6 to 3. This shocked the mentors even more. They asked themselves, even if they encountered such a thing, it was very likely that they would not be able to achieve such a status. There were also some mentors who fantasized that if their students encountered such a thing and killed the enemies together, their students would be able to obtain a spot to participate in the 100-star tournament. However, even their students shook their heads. Compared to the students of class 6 to 3, they were far inferior. They had saved their lives. How could they dare to snatch their spot? Moreover, even if they snatched that spot, what could they do when the time came? With their strength, they would only be beaten up if they went up. Only the students of class 6 to 3 could shine on such a stage and spread the name of the Cloud Sea Academy. In the end, the dean decided to award the Cloud Sea Medal to these 178 students. This kind of medal was usually only given out a few spots a year, but this time 170 medals were given out at once. At the same time, other than the Cloud Sea Medal, the students of class 6 to 3 were also given the highest hero medal in the academy. One had to know that in the academy's tens of thousands of years of history, there were not many students who could obtain such a hero medal. Basically, it was obtained by the mentors. This time, 20 medals were given out at once. This was really an eye-opener. As for the 20 spots to participate in the tournament, they were naturally taken up by the students of class 6 to 3. However, the dean decided to add a substitute spot at the last minute. And this substitute spot was given to Lei Ren, who was as brave and fierce as the students of class 6 to 3 during the battle. This decision made Yu Yanran very excited. She patted Lei Ren's shoulder and praised him. "Kid, you've grown up." Lei Ren shook his head. No, it's because you taught me well." Hearing this flattery, Yu Yanran immediately felt good. "Of course." Lei Ren shook his head again. "I'm talking about Mentor Mo." Yu Yanran's pretty face immediately darkened. "You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.